How's it going, everyone? And welcome to the second episode of what I am tentatively calling the Interview a GM series. Today we are going to be talking with Joey, who is a D&D player slash GM from Chile. I have been talking with him for a good long while, and he has been a member of the roll call community for also a good long while. I don't know exactly how long, but I have been wanting to talk with him a long time about his experience as a Chilean in dealing with the D&D hobby, what it's like to experience D&D as someone from a different culture, as someone that speaks a different language primarily, and as someone that is surrounded by people that may not be as eager to get involved with something that is primarily in English. So we talk a lot about that, as well as just general ideas, tips, and advice for beginner DMs, existing DMs. And then near the end, not gonna lie, we just kind of started going downhill and just talking about D&D. But there's a lot of really amazing, insightful information in this, and I think it is definitely worth sharing and definitely worth listening to. So I think let's not dawdle any longer. Without further ado, here's Joey. Hello, everyone out there in the big, wide/wild world. Today, I am so excited to bring on someone that I have been actually wanting to talk to for a really long time. But it's just been one of those things that just something comes up and then, it gets pushed back a little bit and then something else comes up and then something else comes up. But recently he has graciously asked me, he has graciously been able to provide some of his time and give some of his perspective and tell us some stories, and essentially he agreed to come on the stream and talk for a little bit about his experience with D&D, and I am so honored to have him on stream, and I cannot wait to share all of his wonderful stories and insights about being a GM, his different experiences with it. And I mean, I don't think there's much I can say that wouldn't better be explained by the man himself. So everyone who is watching in the future and present, I would like you to give a warm welcome to Joey.
Everyone, hey,
there he is. Yeah, thank you so much. I know that we've been in talks with this for like a couple of weeks now, but seriously, thank you so much for giving me some of your time to just talk about D&D and this hobby and just shoot the shit for a bit.
Thank you for interviewing me. I'm very flattered. Thank you for all the praise. I don't know how much to say it. I don't know, man. I really think I'm just as nervous as you, and I wanted to talk with you for a long time. Well, we've been talking, but more in depth and show it to the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So
for those people that don't know you, could you maybe tell us who you are and where you're from, and maybe how long you've been playing or GMing D&D?
Sure. My name is Joy. People are known on the internet. I met you, and I met the community through Nova, who also has a Discord. She also has a Discord. And I found her through YouTube, then it derived to the community, and then I found you guys and everyone else. Everyone's been so nice. Nova's also been so nice. Sadly, I left. I have been out from the community for a while due to personal reasons. I'm planning to come back, maybe as a little more stable, but it's all for the best. I've been DMing. I've been playing for a year, for a year, a little more than a year, like a year and a month.
Mm-hmm.
I started. I don't know if the community know her. She introduced me to D&D. She let me play her name is Little Elf in the community Discord. She was so nice. I think it was her first time DMing, and I fell in love with the world D&D, and I wanted more. So because no one played here, I was like, guess I will DM. So yeah, I'm from the other side of the world. I'm from Chile. I'm from the south, very, very south of North America. Yeah, and I live in the capital city of my country, and it's been a journey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spoil anything if you have any questions. So yeah, that's
No. Hey, there's no spoilers at this point. If you want to just start going, you absolutely can. That's what we're here for. We're here to talk about your journey and your experience. Of course, I have things that I'm really excited to talk about, but if you just feel like, like that something like naturally transitions, we're just having a conversation. So go for it, man.
Sure.
Yeah. So
guide me.
Yeah. So you mentioned before that you had this initial exposure with Nova server, and then you got and then you started watching our streams, and then through that you started playing with Elf, who is actually the DM that we interviewed previous. If you want to go and check that out, she is a wonderful human, wonderful person, and she had a lot of initial thoughts about like GMing for the first time, and we had a lot of like really cool discussions about that, and I wanted to ask some similar questions with basically like your experience GMing in the early stages, because like, relatively speaking, 1 year isn't a whole lot of time. It's a good amount of time, but it's still like just dipping your toes into the water what D&D has to offer. So first of all, have you played more or have you GM'd more, do you think?
I have. That's a good question, because I entered Elf's campaign, and then I started. I played a one shot with you, and then I played in Umbra's campaign, where then I left. So the only game I finished playing, it was yours, because it was yours.
That's just how D&D works, though. Like, where does D&D end? It's either a one shot or it just kind of fizzles out. That's just the way that it goes.
Yeah.
So, what do you? So, more player than GM? Would you say at this point?
So yeah, I would say I think it's balanced. Like really balanced, because I have started like 3 campaigns. I have to end one. It's almost over. Then I started another. The first one I didn't even finish. I want to finish it. The Lost Mine of Endeavor, which is the first one I also played. So I wanted to start with that.
Great starting adventure, by the way. Perfect starting adventure.
Yeah, and I also have experience playing that, so I have the view of the GM and the player view from that campaign.
Yeah, so this is a very, very rare thing, actually, because usually as soon as people figure out that you're a GM, that's all you ever do. That's just like the phenomenon that happens in all of this sphere is like, you're a GM, okay, then all of a sudden the players flock around you and you find yourself running 70 games a week. No sleep for the GM. So this is actually really interesting, because we have a situation where you are like experience equally in both. Do you have a preference? Did you say like which would you say that you prefer so far in your experience?
Okay, so in terms of preparing and stuff, I think player. It's much more easier. Also, if you make a dumb character at first, you don't have to remember anything. That's the benefit. But from the side of the GMing, I like creating things, and also like playing with my mouse and that stuff, like making sounds for the creature. It's very childish, you could say, but I enjoy that aspect of D&D. So yeah, the music. I love searching music for these type scenarios. I love them. But yeah, overall playing, I think player. Yeah.
You talked a little bit about your initial experience with Lost Mines, and going back like a little further than that, from like I feel like we're skipping a step here. So like you saw the streams and then you started playing D&D, but like what got you interested in that in the first place? There's like what made you see like, okay, this is D&D and like I want to be a part of this? Like what was that moment?
Okay, yeah. Thanks for asking, guys. It's not like I wanted to say you, hey, I want to say this story for the stream. Yeah. What got me started in D&D is actually a group of friends who play D&D from school. They were like talking about it, like, and I like, hey, what are you talking about? Oh, like a game, and I start listening. I don't know how PG is the stream because it's not nothing. It's nothing like too much, but it's ridiculous. It's funny.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. No.
Nothing.
I mean, you can fucking curse all you want, man. We're fine here.
No, it's not cursing. It's funny. Okay, so basically, I was like listening to these guys. I didn't get it. Like, oh, you play like how? And they tell me, oh, this is a tabletop. And I was like, huh? And they told me D&D. I'm like, I hear like somewhere like typical, not in the radio, but maybe in the TV, like mentioning like a reference, but never like in the movies they always reference D&D and nerds and all that stuff, but it always flew over my head because D&D, I don't have no idea what that is. But they were talking about it. I don't know what they were playing, like Pathfinder 5e. I have no idea essentially, but the story they were telling me that basically there were a group and they were trapped in a frozen cave. Yeah, in a frozen cave. Yeah. It's a dungeon, but it's frozen. So basically, they were like being pursued by like zombies, something like that. Like they have to move along, but they couldn't because they have to enter another room, and one of the rooms were locked because the door was frozen around. So they were telling all this, and I was surprised, like, oh, so I have the idea to pee on the door, to melt the ice, open the door, And I was like, wait, you can do that? And I was like, hey, you can do whatever you want, as long as the dice.
roll for piss.
Yeah, that's the funny part. The GM, who is one of the brothers of my friends, one of the friends there, the other brothers was GMing, and he said, hey, you have to roll for that. I don't remember. He said he rolled and he got a nat 1. So his character Pee frozen and fell off of his body.
Oh.
And then the zombies came to the thing, and he used his frozen pee as a weapon. So I was like,
this was high school. This was high school, right? Right. This was high school, roughly, like when that was going on. Yeah. That just sounds like high school D&D to me. Oh man. I never.
And I was like, I have to play it.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that was your first session. So you had already played.
No, it wasn't my first session. This is their session,
okay.
And they were like,
they were talking. They were talking to you about that. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you heard this story and you thought that, okay, if this can happen in a game, I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And then that led you to everything that we've talked about prior, and then ending up where you are right now. That is so cool, man. I mean, D&D is all about those antics. Like, it's endless possibility, and also just pure, like, it's just an environment of just pure clusterfuckery. It is just a mound of chaos wound up into a little ball, and then you just go with it, and eventually that ball builds and builds and builds and builds until you don't even realize what's going on anymore. I love that.
But it's fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I happen to really enjoy D&D. I know it's hard to believe, but I do find myself spending quite a lot of time delving into the semantics and thought experiments of what ifs and game design and all that. And I love hearing other people's stories and other people's perspectives like this, because it's extremely insightful for me and all the games that I run, but also, like, it's a good reminder that there are other stories out there, and that, because, like, when you GM, as much as I do anyway, it's really easy to get kind of put, like, to keep yourself in your own box, and just like think like, oh, like this is how D&D like generally goes, but then you hear like how or you watch other GMs on Twitch or something, and you experience these other stories and these other styles, and it expands out your own games and makes your own stories so much better. And that was another thing that I really wanted to talk to you about was the majority of my interaction with people in the D&D community, and heck, even Wizards of the Coast themselves, is, you know, I am from California, born and raised. I'm an American, and that is where a lot of my perspectives are anchored. So when I was talking to you, and we've talked a lot about this in the past, from a person that does not speak English as their first language. You speak English wonderfully, by the way, but like it's still like the D&D books are all primarily released in English. The developer updates and the interviews that they do are all in English. Yeah. And of course, everything that you make everything that is made from Wizards of the Coast is based from primarily an American's perspective. But D&D goes beyond all of that. You know, D&D, it spans out everywhere. And I wanted to talk with you about like your experience as someone from Chile, and taking in the D&D products. Or maybe things that are like, and like the homebrew side of things, just being a part of this hobby as someone that is not a native English speaker, and what's that's like, and maybe some unique insight that you have of that.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned before when we we talk a little bit in the community and stuff when we chat. I always never wanted to annoy you and stuff. That's why also I don't like DM you a lot, but
I get that a lot. For the record, let me just say I am perfectly okay with people DMing me. Like I don't mind if you want to get my attention, you know, like DM me, at me, do whatever you want to do. Tweet me. You can do all the things. The thing that really is starts to get cumbersome is when, you know, I get like pinged or added for no reason. Like if it's like, hey, like Kai, what's the square root of 2? Do you need to know that information right now? Like there's an etiquette, but like if you legit like want to get in contact with me, don't hesitate, man. Like I love talking with people, especially if it's about D&D. If you just want to like message me like, hey, there's this really cool character that I made, check it out. I'll be like, fuck yeah, let's look at this character.
Yeah, we talk about, like you mentioned, being like, oh, it must be difficult to, you know, play D&D in English, and it should be easier to play in Spanish, you know, because if I DM in, everyone's talking in the same language, Spanish. But then the problem, like you said, everything is made in America, so everything in America, and everything comes in English and then translated, because there are two things that goes with the prices, which is taxes, the translation also, and basically that's basically why it's more expensive to get Spanish stuff about D&D, because there is everything like DM screens, all the books are in Spanish, like there are spell cards that are in Spanish, but because they are so few, and so it's not a very big difference, but it makes difference in the end, like because of the taxes and again the translation, that it gets expensive. So basically I have to I pull out the English stuff, because also the Spanish stuff also gets like hoarded immediately. Like it's online, then it's gone, and you can't buy it. So basically I wanted a Spanish DM screen, but I couldn't buy it because it wasn't available. So like whatever, I'm already like taking English and translating it, you could say. So yeah, I think it's been more easier, like even I would say trying to DM in English than DM for a group of people in Spanish. Yeah,
okay.
I think that's
So are you saying that are you saying that when a product, a Wizards of the Coast or a D&D product goes on sale, like there are scalpers that buy them, or are they just in such high demand that like people just buy them really quickly? Like
I would say it's high demand, and also like I don't know why, but that's also the problem. At least here, I found like even in the capital city, there is like no dedicated stores like for D&D. Even tabletop stores here sells limited stuff about D&D. Like the starter set is not in any tabletop store here. Like there's only like a dedicated thing here that's not even in the capital. It's in another region of the country, and it's only one store I found so far online. And they sell figurines and stuff like miniatures, like mats and all that stuff. But that's the one in the whole country. So yeah, it's more stuff in English, I would say, that gets to the video game stores and all the stuff, because that's where I bought almost all the stuff, and Amazon, well, kind of Amazon. But yeah, I would say like there's little, like there's less in Spanish than English. So that's why, and I think for what I found, like I'm very like privileged in that state, because there's a lot of people here that doesn't speak English at all. Like none. So basically, if they want to play D&D, the only thing they get is the starter set that's in Spanish and the 3 main books that few stores have it here. But yeah, it's get like that. Like I found it, and in a week they were gone. So basically, if I wanted to buy it in Spanish, it's almost so let me do, because it's 50,000 pesos, Chilean pesos here. But it sounds it should be like $50, but instead it's a little bit more. It's like $75 maybe. So that's what you get from taxes and translation.
That's wild. That is not small. The price range that I see for the PHB is like roughly like $30 to $50, and then of course you can buy them used, and then there's that whole market. Yeah, but like. Just a quick glance, like that seems to be like roughly where things are at, and that's wild. Roughly like a $30 markup. That adds up, like especially like when you think about the expansions. Like so if you bought like the Player's Handbook, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which is like the 3 core books just for the players, and like. Not including the DM stuff, which has like, Volo's Guide, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and then the Monster Manual, all that stuff. That's $30 extra for each of those books. That's crazy. That's so much more expensive. Wow. That's wild. I mean, I suppose it speaks volumes to, the dedication of the international fan base to want to get involved in a hobby that is like, I thought that the books were already expensive, but that's just a shocker to me, like that markup that I'm hearing. I mean, of course it'll probably be different from region to region, but
another thing, sorry to interrupt, but another thing, like
please.
there is free stuff in online, like Wizard of the Coast, like basic stuff.
Yeah.
But there's non-basic stuff free. Like there's no basic Spanish stuff free. There's only English. Like even that you have to.
Exactly. So like if you wanted to play an Unearthed Arcana class, like that isn't translated, so you would either need to go online and have someone that has translated it for you, or you would need to know English. And what does that look like? So going back, and let's talk about the free things that Wizards of the Coast released, like Unearthed Arcana, maybe not. Let's go even outside Wizards of the Coast. Let's talk about like the DM's Guild, like all the homebrew things that are out that don't get translators because they're made by like independent GMs that are all on there. All of these amazing resources that most people, native English speakers, I should say, get access to for free. All of that is basically like nil, like cut out from anyone that doesn't speak English. But so what's your experience with that, either from like some people that you know, or like your own experience doing things like from taking things from the GM's Guild, or like independent modules or books like Grim Hollow or One Shot not one-shot questers. Those independent
Yeah.
books.
I get you. Yeah, I get you. It's interesting because if you see the DMs Guild, you will find a lot of people like there's from Germany, Russia, and they all upload in English. They all have to upload it in English. So basically, that's for an example. Even if I take like the base thing, but basically I overdid it all over again, and maybe I homebrew it, you could say. Like creating that, I didn't upload it to DMs Guild. I think I saved it in my account in DMs Guild, but I didn't like, oh, here you go, guys. No, even that, it's I created in English because the base, everything, it's in English, so it's easier for me to just have the base in English and start putting like even the monster creators online. There's like stuff you can do to better homebrew stuff, but it's really it's really easier because everything in English, it's easier to just put abilities and stuff in English and then translate it instead of like, okay, I'm gonna translate it or make it. I'm gonna make my monster, for example, an NPC in Spanish, based in Spanish. It's a lot difficult for me because everything I have to learn and everything I have like search about, it's in English, so it's a lot easier.
Yeah, like I like right now I'm just trying to find Spanish support for basically anything, and
I think there's a Reddit. I don't know, I'm not sure. I haven't searched that much because I prefer, because I started with the base in English, I even prefer it in English because in Spanish, I haven't like searched in Spanish because it's easier to find stuff in English, and I haven't tried it. I wouldn't say like there's none, but I haven't searched it much.
Yeah, I got you. Well, that's an important thing to mention then for anyone out there that wants to get into this, or like maybe hasn't gotten a chance to look themselves, that maybe there is a little more support out there than we give credit for. But I'm looking right now, just like really like just a cursory glance, not doing a ton of looking, just because of course I'm talking to you right now. But I'm having like a really hard time finding anything. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But certainly isn't easy. Like it doesn't come up immediately for me.
Yeah, it's not the first result. Yeah. I searched the books in Spanish, like in the Google tabs, and I found like 2 pages, and they like 2 links. And I think they have been like pulled down because of that. Because basically the whole book. So that's like the support I found.
Yeah,
at least for the book.
Yeah. That's fascinating, and so you have this language barrier that exists, and again, like you speak English fairly well, but you already mentioned like a lot of people don't. And when you were trying to get them into this game that is primarily an American product, primarily in English, like we talked a little bit about your GM experience and you trying to bring like more people into this hobby because like you're really excited about it, to bring more players into that. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face as someone from in your experience as just locally trying to get people into this hobby? Like what are some of the challenges that you think you have?
Funny enough, I think the vocabulary is the most difficult part, because let's for example, spells, prestidigitation. You can translate that. There is also a translation in Spanish, like the books are translated, but because there are so many things and you search that, basically the conditions, like I don't know how to say disengage. Like I search it, and sometimes that's the funny stuff. When I translate like literal to the English to the Spanish, I don't like this translation. So oftentimes I change it. Like for example, Divine Smite. The literal name in Spanish is kind of lame and like confusing and top without a spell. So basically, I came up with the word like a better word.
No, I'm curious. Like,
that's an example.
Just because I'm curious. I don't speak too much Spanish, but like, what's the direct translation that's lame, and what's the word that you came up with?
Okay, so Divine Smite. I'm gonna go because I remember. I don't remember it right now, but I remember Lay on Hands also a paladin.
Yeah, sure,
paladin thing. Lay on Hands. It's okay. So Lay on Hands. It's poner manos en, or in English, that the translation going back. That's like the Google Translate do. If you put it back, they wouldn't translate to lay on hands. They put to put the hand on. You know.
yeah.
So basically, it's like. So I put it. The name for lay on hands. It's for the paladin. I put it like. Regeneración divina, which is if we translate that literally, it's not lay on hand, of course. It's divine regeneration.
Yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine. Well,
that's the literal translation of what it is. So basically, lay on hands, instead of meaning lay on hands, I translated in English, like going to Spanish and then English, it's divine regeneration.
Yeah, that's great. The cool factor is definitely like a big part of language. Like, you can't exactly translate like the coolness of a word from like one language to another. So absolutely, like if you translate, like I didn't really think about that. So like, because of course you want your players to feel cool and you want these abilities to sound cool, and if the ability sounds lame, that's like a big part of the perception of the thing. So I didn't even think about
also,
that.
Also, it's not like the lame stuff. It's also like it like, I don't remember right now, but Divine Smite, I like try to literally, and then there's also like smites, like spells that coincide with that, with the literal translation. So I have to. So I also homebrew names for the spells, homebrew name for some abilities. It depends. Like for example, prestidigitation. I translated literally prestidigitación. Prestidigitation. It's the Spanish and it's the same.
Yeah, nice.
I love the word prestidigitation.
Prestidigitation is a great word. It is such a like, out of like all the spells that have just like weird, like wacky names, like prestidigitation. It's just a fun word. It's just like a really, really fun. It's also a really fun spell. So it's just. There are a ton of things that are like that. I mean, like, I think the I actually talked with Nova a lot about this, and how her naming conventions are really important, and how names can really heavily inform what the thing either becomes or what the perception of that thing is. And when you are doing things like translations, and you see the have you taken a look at like any official Wizards of the Coast Spanish products, or has it mostly all been in English and you've done the translations yourself?
I have taken a look, but not too specific to the spells. Like even some stuff like the initial stuff, like classes and races, that kind of stuff. Yeah, and also this depends. I'm sorry to any Spanish people like from Spain. I'm sorry, but I don't like much the Spanish translation. Because
see.
You know, there's a difference. There's a difference between Spanish and Latin Spanish.
Yeah.
So I much rather prefer that, because it doesn't. Sometimes it from the Spanish from Spain. They translate it all, which is sometimes it's not the best. For example, if I want to keep an ability or something in English, I will keep it. Like for example, Wolverine. This is an example outside the D&D, but this is the first example I come up. Well, everyone knows about comic book nerds knows about Wolverine. Basically, Wolverine in Latin Spanish, in Latin America Spanish. It's still Wolverine, you know, because that's the name. Captain America is the only difference they translate to Captain to Capitan, but that makes sense. But Wolverine, it's Wolverine, you know. But there is a word for Wolverine, and it's Lobezno. But I don't like the word Lobezno. Like, I think they're showing me another. For example, Deadpool. They also translate Deadpool, and Deadpool in when it put it down in the theaters, it's Deadpool. But if you go to the Spanish from Spain translation, it's like they literally translate pool of blood, or they put it like mercenario, or like pool of blood. Mm-hmm. Like, if you go back, like where was what was I telling you from, like, if you translated in English and then back to Spanish, change again. So basically, the translation in English would be pool of blood instead of Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
So, that kind of stuff, I don't like it. And yeah, there is no translation from South America, for South America Spanish.
Yeah.
Only from Spain, because Spain, it's the biggest, you could say, and the most dedicated. Maybe Mexico can help with that, but as far as I know, there is not like because Mexico makes the more neutral Spanish, or like for all South America.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, there's not like South American Spanish. For that.
Yeah, and that's actually a really great point, and something else that I wanted to talk with you about, because like we talked about how like language informs the things that we describe in D&D, because like when you're playing, it's mostly like vocabulary, it's description, and it evokes images, and then we use our imagination, but the words that we use are very important. But what you just brought up was that, the difference between Spanish, like Mexican, and like Chilean Spanish is all has subtle differences, and when you are working something that is primarily in English, it doesn't, like, the ideas don't translate as well, either from like the cool factor, or like from a literal like translation, like this doesn't translate exactly well. And I think that like with in no small part that that a language can inform a aspect of the culture. And when you are trying to translate something that may not necessarily be so widely used in another place, I think there absolutely can be a little bit of dissonance from like trying to explain ideas. Like, I do you have any like major like things that are obvious in like American culture, or like in D&D, that don't necessarily translate very easily to Chilean culture? Like or words, like anything like that was particularly hard to explain to either someone that you've played with or someone that you've DM'd with?
I think I said it again, but there's a few words like disengage.
Yeah.
I came never up to my mind, but the rest is fairly like translatable, because also D&D is like, it's made in America, but it takes like it's not modern, it's like a fantasy setting. Mm-hmm. So because of that, you can play a lot around with that. I would say even D&D, like the official like lore in the Wizard of the Coast, I would say it's more like medieval Europe, tends to the more Slavic side. Mm-hmm. Of Europe, and Vikings and those stuff, because it's not like the American culture changed much. It's fantasy, it's not like they shove it around like American culture. It's again for other countries, so it's not like, oh, this is because American and stuff. Of course, there's like the typical, and that doesn't affect me personally, or I would say South America in general, because. For example, vampires. The typical thing we thought about vampires is like the classic like stories or Hollywood stuff, you could say.
Hollywood, from Hollywood, which is yeah.
But for example, if you really go deep into the lore of vampires and those stuff, there is a lot of things that's. Of course, because of D&D, they can modify us to the one, and I love that. But if you go like to the lore of vampires, it differentiates. Again, that happens with giants in D&D and the general giants in the mythology. So So in that sake, it's not like a big deal, like culturally or anything that, even for like English, like there's American English and British English.
Yeah.
Even that is not I would say a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part, like the perceptions of like monsters was a great example that you gave. Like what is written down in the monster manual as a vampire, and like what a South American perspective of what a vampire is, like what they write down as a dragon, what your like some native Chilean stories or perceptions are with dragons. Like basically, like what I'm hearing is like American storytelling, specifically with Hollywood, is just so widespread that has basically like become the norm in like a lot of places. So
it's not like, because in South America it's the same as Hollywood. I would say it's more to the niche. Like for example, if I live in Poland or I don't know, Ukraine, like I don't know how to say in English, Romania.
Yeah.
So basically, where the vampires came from, the whole mythology of vampires, it differentiates a lot from the D&D stuff. That's the main difference for them. And also giants. I know this because I like mythology, mainly Norse mythology, but you know, the whole vampire stuff and so that's what I know. But here you don't see a difference. Oh, this is the vampire, unless someone is a fan of vampires or something like that, or giants. Depends on the mythology or like things we're playing. For example, Goliaths. Let's talk about Goliaths. Goliaths,
sure.
It's a whole thing. As far as I know, no one's have listened to them before. So when I present Goliaths or even half-orcs, they're understandable because it's been in movies, but you never seen Goliath basically in popular media. So basically, the whole new thing. The same halfling. I say they're hobbits.
Yeah, so basically, yeah.
Yeah, and I tell that could be a cultural thing that basically I tell people like they couldn't name hobbits because of some legal issue, but they basically
yeah. No, that's. I mean, I love hearing about different cultural perspectives, and of course, like naturally, what happens is like what you mentioned before, with like, you know, the way that that people in Romania or Poland's like their stories of vampires, of course, like, you know, being the general, like the origin of that story, as soon as the story is told, it's passed on to someone else, and then slowly but surely it changes and warps with the cultures that it's passed on to. Like stories change with us, and they start to adapt and take on the like what we consider normal, like the classic example that I think of, like, you know, the Grimm's fairy tales, like where those fairy tales started versus Disney's movies that most kids are familiar with now. Like, they are very different because like it just doesn't like it needs to change with the time and with the audience. And when you jump like borders and through like an entirely other place, there might be like some things that don't necessarily translate well from one culture to the next. And I love hearing about things like that because it's things like that really inform why stories don't work, and like why certain creatures maybe aren't intimidating at all. Like an example that I can think of is China. The perception of death in China is not something to be taken like lightly, and it's so imbued in their culture, and the like visual imagery of death. And I may be butchering this, but this is my understanding of it. Apologies if there is anyone out there that knows better than me. But my understanding is that the visual presentation of death is absolutely taboo. So when they make video games or products and they localize it to China, they take out the skeletons, or they take out like the bones or like things like that. So is there anything like, is there anything that you can think of like that like maybe just doesn't work really well from your perspective, or is it mostly like all the same?
It's interesting because Chile in that sake is very similar to America, I would say. I don't know from other countries, from other South American countries. We have, although like a lot of native people here, they call Mapuches here, and that would be interesting because they have a whole perspective, like you said, in death, but a lot of earth, like a lot of stuff, like this. It's difficult to interpret it because I have talked a lot with Mapuches. There are like people like me. There's also like people that lives more like in the more like classical style, you could say, on the Mapuches, but they could be more like me. Like you could be talking to a Mapuche right now, you know. But from what I go to, where it's like their motherland, you could say, like their niche is like basically everything comes from Earth, you know, and Earth is like a god. Basically, it's not a god, but it's something, yeah, like you respect, you pay tribute, you celebrate, and all the stuff. For example, we have like millennial trees called Araucaria, and they work with that wood. It's interesting because it's 1,000 years old, and they could live for a long time, even longer than that. But they only work with the not everyone, but from what I've encountered, the people that work with that wood, it only work with dead araucaria. Not they don't chop araucaria at all. Just work with dead. So that's why it's a limited like resource type of wood, and they only work with generally with all the wood, but the heart of the wood, like because it's have a center like a heart, like it's like it's weird because it's like the stem. It's more like hard, you could say, of the tree because it have like a special like knot, you could say, and they work with that wood, and it's interesting because they sell it for very cheap, and it could cost a lot of money. Like I bought from my mom a little earrings made from that wood, and it cost me like, let's say, less than $10, and it could be easily $100 because they take out so randomly, you know. And that impressed me. So basically, what I try to say is like it would be interesting to play with that with them, you know, D&D, because I think there's in their culture there's a lot of taboo things.
Yeah.
That I could mention, let's say hell, or like demons, or like devils, because there's different
exactly
in D&D. Basically, or something like elementals. I think elementals would be.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. I was like you mentioned everything. It's like what, like when you now like imagine like bringing an earth elemental into the game and what that would mean for them, like how big of a deal that would be. Like that sounds like it would be huge.
Yeah, because I say it depends individually, because maybe there are some like very structured would say no, I won't play with elementals because I think that's respectful, and I think there's a lot of Mapuche that would play and they enjoy the earth elemental, even maybe like preach it. Oh, I want more earth elementals because
So in other words, just D&D, like just D&D. People have
it depends on the people.
Yeah, it just depends on the people. Exactly. So I mean. And I think that speaks to how cool D&D actually is, because you take that format and then you put it in a completely different culture, like what we were talking about, and you can make it fit, you can make it work, because the GM and the players have the opportunity to completely tailor it to their own preferences, and that's really really cool. Sorry, I know that isn't necessarily like your own culture background, but thank you for indulging me in talking about I
think it's interesting. I never thought about it.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, like it's I don't know. Like that's what it really comes down to. Is like I don't know, and that's why I ask you. I have a primary source right in front of me. I can ask all the stupid questions I want, and now
come. Let it come.
So talking about the inverse of all of that, we you know, as a GM, we can tailor the game to our players, and as players at the table, we can kind of shift the narrative around and talk about like our own preferences and what we want to see in the game, and that basically sets the stage, that sets the tone for the entire game that we play. But you know, you came in on Twitch, and when you were watching like other D&D games, like Critical Role is the classic example, or what we do, it's you were watching someone, we were watching someone else's cultural perspectives and sensitivities and boundaries, like all at play within this same system. And do you think watching people has affected your GMing more than you coming to your own interpretation of the books has?
I would say it is based on all the people I've watched. I've taken a lot from the books because it's really interesting. Also because I'm a rules lawyer. But I don't remember the channel. I think it was XP to level 3 or maybe RuneSmith. I don't remember who, but someone said like steal idea, steal all of that. So basically, the Critical Role is being a lot of stuff to I don't want to copy the exact same thing for Critical Role because I'm not with voice actors. I'm not Mark Mercer. It's really different, all in all. But I really like the tension he creates. So I basically stole like literally some phrases or like images that he creates in his story. For example, if some people have watched Critical Role the campaign 2 from the beginning, in the first episodes, there's like a huge event that's happening while the team was doing something else, like some random shit. Not some random, but like some shenanigans, basically. And the main, like, I think Sadash, the main city of the thing, have a tower of the because I think the council was there or something like that, but has the main tower, and it makes like a huge black hole, like bubble, and then it collapses, and then the whole tower goes down and then freezes in the place from my arcane magic, you know. And I took that and put it in one of my games. This is an example. I also taken a lot of noises and like descriptions and stuff from you.
I'm flattered, thank you.
Because I think it's interesting and creates like the whole ambience. So basically, I stole and steal everything that because no one knows about D&D and all that stuff. And I hyper focus a lot. So basically, I have learned most of the things from memory in D&D. If it's not, I like, oh, this page, boom. Like Man Mercer, not to the point of Man Mercer, but like I can go open a book and say, oh yeah, this page. Because I have obsessive characteristic. But yeah, basically, from that things where it's like not in the books, I take it and put it in my games. And this is interesting because the DMG sucks. Very good.
I would love for you to talk more about that because I have my thoughts on the DMG, but I would love to tell me, why does the DMG suck?
Okay, so basically, and this is from an opinion from the internet, but then I made my own, basically like, oh yeah, and then going to the DMG, I'm like, it's not like the first chapter is like pantheon, creating a whole pantheon of gods. Like, no, that's not like the first experience you could take for a DM.
Yeah.
It's like whole world building. No, it should. Okay, it's always been fun stuff, and always focus on that. Even though it's not like the personality thing, all those stuff, or not like. Even though I go like close to the rules, but I think it's easier that for beginners, for players that doesn't know much, to stay with like as close to the rules as possible, but also like get them freedom to do stuff. Because in the end, if everyone is having a good time, I think that's the main thing. And to have a good time, I think there are 3 basic things, which is combat, exploration and investigation, I think. That's the three main...
Combat, exploration, and social interaction.
Social
the three pillars of D&D.
Yeah. So basically, in the DM's guide, it talks about all of that, and it helps you a lot with little things about combat, but also like, for example, from 1-on-1, I go more to the online, like for the community instead of the books.
Mm-hmm.
Because the books, you can say, oh yeah, you can have a DMPC or you can have an NPC, but most of the creators online would say, don't make a DMPC, DMPC are dumb, all that stuff. And I came from the middle ground.
No,
I would say.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's totally fair. So, my perspective on this book right here, like I've tabbed it.
It's not friendly user. That's why I say it sucks. That's my perception of the D&D.
Yeah, so I absolutely, I absolutely agree that there are some things in here that I don't know why they are made as important as they are. I use most everything, not most everything. I use a lot of things in this book, and I still recommend that completely new GMs use this book because there's. From my perspective, I got into Critical Role because I'm a voice actor, and like I learned like when I learned that freaking Liam O'Brien, Matthew Mercer, Laura Bailey, and I think those were the names that I and I knew Ashley Johnson too. When I learned that they were like all like in the same place playing a freaking improv game, I was like, I just want to watch them do it, and then they were playing D&D, and then that's how I got into it, and then I was hooked. I didn't know things like even knowing that the three pillars exist is super important when you're talking about things like game design. Like when you're a dungeon master, this was a trap that I fell into because of what is commonly referred to on the internet is the Matt Mercer effect. It can be really easy to get the idea that D&D is something that it's not. And something that the Dungeon Master Guide does really well is it explains to you what your role as a DM is. And a lot of newer GMs, I find like one of the biggest mistakes that I see GMs make, and this could be a whole like YouTube video in and of itself, is that I find that a lot of newer GMs tend to think that they have more control than they do. That they are making a story for the players to experience rather than an interactive space to play around in. And like opening to like the very first section of this book, the DM creates a world for the other players to explore and also creates and runs adventures to drive the story. And that is a strong, solid foundation to build off of. But even then, like as I read this, like I think story can be overrated when you're running a D&D game. Basically, you're not writing a book for your players to experience. You're not writing a story for the players to passively just be strung along, and you are making an experience for them to interact with and for them to have agency in. And that is a huge mistake that I see that a lot of newer GMs make, and that this book does a really good job trying to break down, like, okay, if you want to have a story, well, like, how can you facilitate that in an interactive way rather than, at least in the United States, like we are taught writing in school, like we write essays and have a general understanding of like, beginning, middle, and end and all that. But when you're writing things like D&D, when you're writing like sessions for your players to play, and you can't write that way, it doesn't work. Because as soon as you're like, okay, like this will happen, as soon as you write sequentially, I should say, like as soon as you start thinking like this will happen, and then this will happen, you start to realize pretty dang quickly that your players are going to break everything and that nothing is going to work the way that you expect. So you need to be like really open to change and interaction. And I think that this book is a great introduction to that idea of creation for those that are not familiar with it. So I still recommend that people read this book for that like maybe are not, that I've not, they're completely green to D&D, even if they have like seen all those streams, like especially like when you watch Critical Role, people think that show's scripted. There are honest like people out there that think that they write a script each night and they perform it because it is so good, but that's just improvisation. So like for those people especially, like they can absolutely get the wrong impression about like what D&D is. So I think that that's my thoughts about like the strength of this book. But I absolutely do agree. Everything that you just said, like, absolutely makes sense. And
okay, I want to make 2 points about that.
Sure.
What you said, I think it's true.
Yeah.
It's great for beginner DMs who wants to create a world, but if you're playing for the first time and DMing, don't touch the book. Or if you're getting the DM's book because you want to DM and create your whole world, at first watch some YouTube videos or watch some guides, because you're gonna get lost with it. I think the first pages, yeah, it's true, like the first page, but I think beginners DM shouldn't create worlds because it's really, really difficult, and I think it should be a transition. For example, I didn't like create a whole world. No, I base a lot of the Wizard of the Coast stuff and put it in my game. You know, like I'm creating a world, I'm creating a campaign in top of the world or modifying the world, but the world already exists. I'm still in that transition. I think in that regards, yes, but I think it has to be heavily accompanied with that. So I would agree with that, but I still goes through with that if you're DMing for the first time, still have you see
or do what I recommend, run a module for the first time because everything's there.
yeah But basically, because of the players doesn't know, also it's really if the player doesn't know, I think the player's handbook is the best thing for everyone, and D&D Beyond. I'm not a sponsor, I'm sorry for nothing at all, but D&D Beyond have like all these races, all this stuff, like you can read and like extra rate. In the end, it's like the races and features that you can read in D&D Beyond. That is not everything the player's handbook, and I think the player's handbook it's great if like you have a like the start, like Lost Mine Endeavor, which already written, but also it's very good to accompany with the player's handbook. For some rules and stuff doesn't.
The PHB is a must. Absolutely, everyone should read the player's handbook. I think that thing, like from beginning to end, like that is the absolutely like I
would say the DMG is more like advanced, and if you want to create world building for the first time.
The Dungeon Master's Guide is for GMs, and there are a lot of people out there that have no interest and probably never will GM, and so like. That's just
perfectly fine.
Yeah, and that's fine. But like if you are and you really do want to get into the nitty gritty of it, it's also just like really good. Another like thing that this kind of does is it helps like inform like a little bit of like the history of D&D, like where it comes from, or at least what it's supposed to do. This has the spirit of D&D very much imbued everything, and maybe not everything in here works necessarily as intended, but you at least get what the game historically is about, and what and then you can choose to either implement that or change it or ignore it, but like at least you can make informed decisions on it because you've read that. But you clearly have like a lot of like really unique insights in all of this, and
sorry to interrupt.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, so continue.
Oh, okay. I was just going to ask, in your experience as a GM, because you from my keen ears, I hear a story in between the lines of what you're just talking about, with like like steal, otherwise like it could grow. Like, so you've DM'd and you've played, and I'm just really curious. What is something that you maybe we just talked about it, but what is something that you really wish that you knew as a GM, like before you started, and what is something that you wish other people really knew about GMing?
Okay, so for me, even though I love combat, I think the most difficult part had been DMing combat. for me. So I will speak for myself because I think it depends on every DM. But first, I learned about the 3 pillars later. So I think the first thing you could learn is the 3 pillars, like combat, exploration, and social encounters. That's, you have to learn about that and distribute that well. Even though you have the module, I think it's very interesting. The modules helps a lot because it also tells you how to role play as certain NPCs and those stuff and important NPCs. But even though I think you should ask your players, like, what do you want more? A combat or more exploration or more social encounters? I think that's really interesting. And also have to know if your players prefer combat, know how to make combat really interesting. If your players prefer exploration, makes the exploration really interesting. And if they prefer social encounters, make the social encounters really interesting. Why I say this? Because the world I basically created from the base, which is the one shot, who was then later like a campaign, like a huge big battle, you could say, for level 20s. So yeah. So basically, I focus a lot of combat, but I found myself, like, they didn't tell me, but what I've seen, the social encounter I created fairly, like, they enjoy it a lot, which is basically they meet in a tavern, basic stuff, but I created, like, because it was around where, I don't know if where Jokat, RuneSmith, XP, all these guys were creating a tavern, like the whole books for taverns, for a Kickstarter, a Kickstarter for taverns.
Yeah.
So they just come out with that. I saw the Jokat animation and I saw like the promotion for the Kickstarter. So basically, I was like, I could make really interesting taverns. So basically, I put a lot of interesting stuff, like and also take that from Critical Role, like from the Carnival part of the Critical Role. Again, the beginning of the campaign too. They were like a lot of games, a lot of stuff to try. So I basically make a competition for drinking, a competition. How do you say this in English? We call it cañito, but I don't know how to say it. Strength, where you make strength check and you defeat the opponent or you get defeated. It's
a strength saving
wrestling. No, arm wrestling.
Arm wrestling. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Arm wrestling, throwing knives competition, bare hands fighting competition, and I created rules for all of that, and they enjoy a lot. They were having a wonderful time in the table. Exploration, almost none. And combat a lot, and it drag out. I could feel them it drag out. So
So out of all of that, what do you think you struggled most with? Was it the combat? Like you said, like that was, because it sounds like you did a lot of it, which doesn't imply you didn't necessarily say that you had a hard time with it. Just that it was a lot. But like, was there something like in particular that was like really hard for you?
The thing I thought about it, and like, okay, they're level 20, so I have to put a lot of stuff to drag them out to the final counter. That's what I thought. But then it was a lot of wave type of deal, and there was no like a sensation of how do you say it, like where they have to be fast and
urgency.
Urgency. Urgency. A sensation of urgency. So basically, they were like, I create one scenario of urgency, and the paladin flew and saved the like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's because then online I start like following more like how to create combat, how to make combat more interesting. To make put a lot of, for example, they fought 3 ancient dragons. They kill it. No, one killed the both skates, and they still have to fight a Tarask, which are modified. Yeah, by level 20. To be fair, I think they will defeat it fairly easily.
Dude,
I modified though.
Even freaking like Matt Mercer himself struggles freaking making adventures for a level 20 party. So the fact that you took on a level 20 adventure when you were first starting DMing, That's a monumental task, man.
Yeah, but that's really interesting because going back when in the tavern, one of my players chose the lucky feat, and he uses all the lucky feats in the tavern.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So also he's a fighter, so make an indomitable, you could say, like you can re-roll a saving throw.
Yeah.
He also expended. So basically, that's when it starts going down and like drag before the combat. So yeah, I would say like get the 3 pillars, know how to make them interesting, and ask your players, because I didn't ask them, but it's difficult because with new players they don't always know. Like it's not like they know what they want, but they know how to say it like in D&D language. You could say like, I like want more exploration and stuff. And for example, someone say, I want more exploration. Like, okay.
Yeah, but what does that mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I gotcha.
So I watch videos about it. I watch a lot of videos about it and those stuff, So I would say like, search a lot of the 3 pillars and ask your players which of them want more. Like distribute, make 50% of combat and then distribute the other 2 with 25, or maybe like 33, or maybe like 70 and then 10 and then 20,
Yeah.
Like distribute them, like make them order.
Yeah.
Basically, like, okay, out of 3, which one do you prefer? Okay, this one. The second one, this one, and then you create something more interesting. And if you want, that's the problem. I, as a player, enjoy combat, but my players, at least the combat I have given them, is not like very fun so far. So that's where like, okay, how make, and I search a lot about.
Yeah, can I actually stop you? What makes you does this have anything to do with the urgency? Like, what do you think makes this makes the combat not fun?
Okay, so what's with this group, which level 20 fighting the Tarrasque and all that, and put the waves of enemies. Then I try like a fast thing to one of my best friend who wanted to try D&D. I was like, okay, we're gonna play it today, Fuck it, you wanna play it?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm gonna come up with stuff.
Yeah.
So that didn't come out too well. I gave him a character, he's happy with the character and all stuff, but again, the combat drag out, and I figured that out because my problem is the number of enemies. My players can defeat a lot of number of enemies easily, but there's 2 things, because in both sessions they both new players, they don't know about their stuff, so a lot of times they can do a lot of stuff, like instantly delete a lot of waves already, but they don't know about it.
Yeah.
So either you tell them like, hey, you can do this, but if they don't want to, they're gonna drag the combat. So I would say like, for my player also, and we discussed this, I discussed it with you, but basically, if my, for example, if this is on one-on-one, my player could easily defeated all the guys. There were 4 guys, and he was only 1, but he defeated it very easily. So basically, I could have gone without the rolling combat and go with the full, for that say scenario. But if there's a big monster, then I go full to combat and that kind of stuff, which I modify a lot. Even I created a whole new, I homebrew a lot, whole rules for his campaign, like the cinematic mode, which is basically everything that doesn't happen for him or like around him or doesn't affect him directly to him. I don't do it like a combat. It's like, this is happening to that, and I'll tell him, this is happening in that scenario. If I roll it like, they're going well or they're doing poorly, something like that. But basically, don't drag in other stuff and focus. Like, I imagine like a movie.
Yeah.
Like, there's like a 12 different angles for one combat scene, and there's a lot of stuff going around. That's how I created the homebrew for the cinematic mode.
Yeah, I get that, and that's a wonderful piece of insight that you just gave, because that was something that I did when I first started. Like, my very first D&D encounter that I ran was on a ship in the middle of a storm. There were 3 different things going on: weather, enemies, and then the players needed to like use things that were outside of the character sheet and save crew members and all this stuff. And that was my very first freaking D&D encounter that I ever ran, and of course it went horribly because I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what was happening or like how anything worked. So like that, the insight that you gave is really good, because combat absolutely can drag out, and combat is where things get the most complex. And when you are first starting out, starting with something simple is a great way to work up to like the really complex things. Like you talked about introducing waves and like starting at level 20 and separate variables, like different things that can go wrong in an already like really complex system. Absolutely is a risky move. And I think that insight is very good. Just like either start simple, or if you want to do really complex things like that, simplify it. Because if you try to do everything by the you and you're, especially like when you're new, it's overwhelming. And I think that is wonderful insight.
The problem, the problem with that is like, you can run level 20 like being fairly new DM, but the problem is when the players doesn't know anything about it and they are as new as you or even more new as you, it's really complicated because you have to track all them abilities to tell them their turn. Spellcasters, I have one paladin. All of them, they are not spellcasters, except for a monk, like way of the elements, and she. I also have to track a lot of them, but for the barbarian and the fighter, I have to track also them stuff. So I have to always like, okay, this is your turn, and then running is. Online, everyone told me, if you're first DM, don't run a level 20, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Guys, if you're like me, do it, but with maybe experienced players, or make it team player, because your players don't know stuff and you don't have to. So guys, please don't do it, or if you're gonna do it, simplify it.
No, well said, well spoken, well done. Flipping that a little bit, from your player's perspective though, like, you know, first time going in as a player, what was something that you had wished going into it and something that you really wish that other people knew?
Okay, so for me, that's the thing. I learned, because I was so excited, and because of my ADHD, I hyper-focused. I searched all I can do in combat. I search everything like you can do in D&D, and basically if there's nothing written, I can roll a d20 and figure out, you know. And I happen to know that from the get-go. So I knew, for example, I was thought about, like, for my first combat, I want to push my enemies prone to have advantage always, but I only have one action or one attack. So it's like, okay, that's difficult. But then I learned, you know, it's not like I have a different approach for like the normal people, because not the normal people, sorry. For people in general, I think for the people I have DM, they don't go like that, like, goes for search. They just ask, what can I do in this turn? So for people, I think for people who are just starting, it's, I would say, like, make things easier to you DM. Don't be a rules lawyer. But make things easier to DM by knowing some basic stuff about combat. Like, read your character sheet and learn that. Everything with your character sheet.
That's a wonderful bit of insight that I myself still have to tell, like, really experienced players, like people that have been playing this game for years. Like, maybe I've been playing with them for like hundreds of hours at this point. Like, hey, that is please learn your character sheet. Like if you're new and you don't know how the game works, absolutely, no, don't be afraid to ask for help. But generally speaking, learn the stuff on your character sheet, please. Yes, that is a great one.
And go wild. Have fun with other players. If you're playing one-on-one, have fun with your DM. Tell him like, hey, I've been to be more like quirky or funny. If you're having one-on-one, your DM should make goes route more quirky, funny, and all that stuff, like ridiculous. Like I want to punch my enemy with my dick. I don't know.
Full scan. Just like, okay, I want to be a monk that just slaps people with their dick.
Or with their boobas. If you're a female, go with your with your boobs.
No, D&D, man, your games must be wild, Joey.
Really. They enjoy it.
Well, that's awesome. I'm sorry, still recovering from all of that. Do you still would you consider yourself like a connoisseur, or like you watch a lot of D&D content? Like, cause I know you said you read all the books and you did all the things. Do you still do that? Are you still keeping up to date with like D&D content and things?
Well, the latest thing, a lot of Kickstarters, to again, this is interesting me. I'm taking that, a lot of that stuff. Because my mind works so weirdly, I can remember stuff from the game. But if not, I always like have on my phone and like search this later, or make this later, or I save a video for like to see later in my view. Really so I can watch it later and that stuff. And basically, it's, for example, D&D Beyond, the latest thing have been the what was the new thing, like the Hexblood, the vampire, the
thing with Von Richten's Guide.
Yeah, Van Richten's Guide. Well, before that was Unearthed Arcana, then was like
The official release was Von Richten's Guide. See, I was just because I mean, if you hadn't been keeping up to date, then this question would have been kind of pointless, because I don't know how much you've been in the loop recently. But in your experience, either GMing, playing, or just with the products that are being produced by everyone, what is and you could even get specific. Like, I know that you've watched some of my games, and you've played in one of mine, and what is something in the D&D sphere, something that you want to see more of, either like Wizards of the Coast making more things, or either things that you wish DMs did more, or you wish that that players did more? Like, what is something that you just want more of in this hobby?
Okay, there's a lot of things I would say. Normal, not much mechanical stuff. I really admire Wizards of the Coast, and I absolutely love their stuff. For example, they are making a movie about D&D. I'm like, awesome.
Awesome. I'm expecting some cameos in that movie. There's got to be.
Yeah, mainly again because there's an interesting thing and all the stuff, and this could be interesting in a game, or this scenario,
Yeah.
But what could be interesting is, for example, Gen Con, or this whole Gen Con and the most famous one, Comic Con, and all the stuff. It's really big, and we have that in Chile. But again, I don't know in South America in general, but in the Comic Con is comics and actors and rock geeky stuff, but not much. I haven't seen in Brazil, for example. It's not I've been to Brazil, but I've watched some of the uploads of YouTube and the stuff from Comic Con. It's not very focused on tabletop and all the stuff. Even video games is not that common, you could say, even though it's big and they talk about and there's a lot of people that cosplay, but D&D is not that like a big thing, and it would be interesting to like Comic-Con, Gen Con, all that stuff. Like people that be together and play games there, like live shows and all that stuff. It would be interesting to see that in South America, because there is in Europe and there is in America. And I know there's a lot to ask, especially these days, but it would be interesting. No, I'm not saying my country, like I know Brazil, but maybe like because I'm gonna take for Critical Role for the example. I think Critical Role that makes excellent is bring new people in, even though they expect something that they could be like not. I think it could be interesting, and even not Critical Role, like some live. I don't know, Jokes Machina.
Yeah.
Have you watched there like with Joe Manganiello? I think it would be great. There's people who translate stuff live, so like that English guys speak, and then there's literal translation live, and I think it could be interesting to see that, or like even though it's in English, I wouldn't care. Like even though it's a niche, I think it could expand a lot more here in South America, and maybe in my country, because you ask, have you seen like stuff in Spanish and those stuff? And the only thing I've seen, like not like I've seen in my recommended, I haven't like I started, but not like full on the campaign, is one guy which I also have learned a lot, and he's from Spain, and he makes a lot of D&D content. It's a mod channel, but I've watched some of his videos, like where to start, like D&D having, like if you want to play something about D&D, it don't have to be like D&D. It could be like futuristic. It could be cowboys. Don't like role play stuff. It's not D&D. So basically, but if you want to play D&D, here. If you want to play like a lot of Spanish, all this in Spanish, and he less than a month ago he started a campaign with other Spanish people, and like we have seen with you and other creators that I don't want to mention, but basically do live stuff, like Twitch stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a whole Twitch community that I would love to play D&D. People from Mexico. There's people from Mexico, because it's online. You can play with all of them at the same time. So there's like a popular Chilean YouTuber / streamer. Also in Mexico, there's that. In Spain, there's that. And if you get a group of that in that regards, I think it would bring more attention to D&D in my language, and that create a lot more facilities. And if people's interested, it will create a whole new market for D&D. So more Spanish stuff, more, and maybe more, because there is Twitch streams in D&D Twitch streams in Spanish, but they are not. If you can search it right now, like D&D, or go to Spanish, and some of them they talk about it. I haven't seen any played online in Spanish, but yeah, it's difficult to get. So yeah, even for example, if I want to recommend people to D&D, a lot of my people in the university don't speak English at all, so I can't like, hey, watch these guys. These guys are they talk in English, so so it's like there's Critical Role have the translation in Spanish, like subtitles, but it's good, but it's also difficult because a lot of people. That's the thing. It's easier to go and say, hey, guys, this guy is live. Wanna watch them instead of, hey, wanna watch this part of the video because it's 3 hours video. So you show that to them. It's like, no, thank you. I'm gonna pass on that because it's in English subtitles. I don't want to read. I don't want to watch a 3 hours video guys playing, and there could be also for a lot of people, but to bring more attention to South America, but also to the whole community, like it's not the same language, but the Slavic countries that they don't speak Russian, but their language is fairly similar, and they can understand each other fairly. Depends on the country. Also bring D&D to them, and even in Japan, I think it will be great. For example, VTubers. VTubers have been a lot of connection between communities. I would like that for D&D,
Yeah, no, that is. I mean, that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to talk to you, and why I wanted to bring up a lot of the stuff that we did, is from it's like what I talked about before, just like it's easy for me to just be in a bubble, be like because D&D is made by English speakers and is primarily promoted in English, and then is made in America and the United States. And so as someone that is part of that culture, it's really easy for me to just to forget that there is this whole massive group of people outside that are hungry for this stuff, that want to play, that want to get more involved, and that want more representation in all of this, that they want like a con or like a convention or an event, or like officially produced streams in their language, or like bringing people from their countries, content creators, all that stuff. I think that that's all so incredibly important, and I think that's a wonderful idea, and I want to do what I can to support that. Of course, I don't.
Of course difficult.
No, it is difficult, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to bring that up, and you're always welcome to play at our tables, Joey. If you want more Chilean representation, if you want to play with me, you're welcome at the table.
Yeah. I just want to say, don't take that pressure, because I know it's also very difficult already to people there to get involved. Don't get that. Oh, I want to bring everybody in the world. That's difficult, and I think if the communities and, for example, the popular Spanish streamers doesn't want to play D&D,
absolutely. It's more just about awareness, and I'm not saying that forcing people or shoving an agenda down someone's throat is the way to go about it. No, you want to introduce it naturally. You want, but there are clearly people that are very passionate about D&D, and that they are out there, and that there is a platform for them, and a lot of people that would love to watch them play. And I think you're right that we shouldn't, don't force it. It's not one of those things that you should pressure people to feel. So I'm sorry if I did that just now with you. I did not mean that was not my intention.
It's okay. It's okay. No.
Yeah. But
my point is, don't worry about it. Don't worry too much about it.
Yeah. I got you. Well, I would love to see different games and from different cultures, and all coming together, and just seeing how different people and different places play the game in different ways. Because like we talked about like a little before, like there are just different cultural norms that absolutely affect how the way that games are played. And I would love to see that on full display. And that's something that Wizards of the Coast have seemingly put effort into, like getting more people from different backgrounds into their workforce, and trying to make stories that appeal to a wider audience, and all of that, which is all like really, really cool. Yeah. So I would love to see that. I would love for there to be a.
What I will love. Sorry.
No. Please. Yeah.
It's to like everyone, like if it gets popular, I don't know, in Germany, a lot of in Spain, a lot of stuff, like to, even though it's in English, to watch different type of popular people, like I don't know, John Manganello with a popular streamer in Spain, with a popular streamer in Germany,
absolutely,
all around the world. I think that would be the top of the cake.
Yeah, that would be so cool. Just like bring people from like all over, and then just collaborate and introduce each other to each other's streams, and like we kind of joked about that like a little bit. It's like how like if I ever like this was like really early on, I think before you GM'd, where we were talking about this, where we were talking about different languages like in game, and how like English was your second language, and how you could maybe like incorporate that into your character because like everyone else was like a primary language speaker. Like, yeah, I speak Common, but Common isn't my primary language. My primary language is Giant, and then we just like make Giant Spanish.
Yeah, which is funny because I watch a VTuber called Iron Mouse. No pain.
No. I know Iron Mouse.
What I like about her is like she's came from a Puerto Rican background, so she had played D&D, and when she plays again, she talks Spanish. It was she made a Triton, so her Spanish was Aquan, I think is the is the language.
Yeah.
So her Spanish, it's Aquan. I was like, oh, it would be so fun to like gather around some Spanish speakers or like second language and start like, I don't know, get Icelandic people talk Giant, and then Spanish people talk, I don't know, Halfling or other language.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be
English.
Yeah.
English could be common, but then they all manage.
That would be so cool. Like especially from like a stream perspective, where you got like all like the world watching, where like you start speaking in Halfling, and like all of the Spanish speakers in the audience are like, I know this language, I know what's up. Like that would be so fun. That would be so cool. I love that. One day, I think we have a goal here. Like one day you just get a bunch of people from like different cultures all around a different table, and they all come from like a different place in the world, and you just have that natively play into the game that you're playing. That's beautiful, man. That is so awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah, that would be. I think that would be a lot of fun. You know, like you said, I don't. Spanish people. I know what you're talking about, Halfling, and maybe some Icelandic people, and then Germany, because it could correlate on some stuff to the Old Norse or to the Vikings.
Yeah. And then you have the GM that needs to speak all of those languages.
or maybe some of them. That would be interesting. Maybe some Japanese speakers could talk Elven. I don't know. That would be so interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of multilingual people out there that could DM, and I think would be so interesting.
Yeah.
To see like.
I would love to see that and see how I would just love to just see, like, I have no idea how that would go, and it really excites me just to see if that would work or how that would feel, because it's I'm all about that. That's a really cool idea. All right. Let me think. We've talked about like a whole lot, going from like to the start, now all the way to current, to now possible future ideas. And I wanted to give you an opportunity, if you had to ask me any questions, or like to bring up anything that like you really wanted to talk about. Now that we're getting like near the tail end here.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's a couple of things. It's not planned, but it came to my mind right now.
Yeah, no. First, that's what I'm asking. Yeah.
The first one would be so before our game or anything like that. Okay, before I ask you that, have you ever had another player that it doesn't come from America, in your community, and have you DM for them that also speak another language, like if English was their second language, and you have to DM for them?
In the D&D sphere,
not on streams, maybe.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I suppose the honest answer is if they do, I didn't know because their English was so good. Like I like, for instance, like there are a couple of people I can think that probably that's the case, but they it wasn't something.
They haven't told you.
Yeah. It wasn't something that I noticed or something that I needed to keep track of. And that was honestly like one of the coolest things about DMing with you and talking about these ideas and making your shadow sorcerer and like all the stuff was like like the different perspective, and also like from like an RP perspective, like the characters that you made. And because I noticed that you did this, like you tried to incorporate the English as a second language, like into like some aspects of your character and the way that they spoke, and it made it really interesting and fascinating, and also just so like fluid. Like, of course, that wasn't like the central thing. Like the central thing was usually something else, but it was there, and I loved playing around with that. So my answer is not to my knowledge, but I want to remedy that. I absolutely want to DM for more people from different places and different backgrounds, and see how they play the game and make games for them. So yeah, I would love to DM for more people that spoke English as a second language.
That's cool. So okay, I ask you that because this leads to my second question. There was any challenge, or there was anything you thought about, like, English is not his first language. Maybe I have to pull back from this, or I want to put this instead, or something like you thought, like, for me, like, or like, you know, like, because of the language or the stuff, or like, I'm not so familiar also with American culture. So it's anything like you have to pull back, or maybe like, maybe this is too complicated for him, I will change that, or anything like that. That's when like everyone.
So when I was DMing for you, the thing that I was
the one shot.
Yeah. When I was DMing for you, the thing, and also when I talk to you, like especially like off stream, like I will sometimes I will say like really obscure words that like I know are like super weird and specific, and I'll be like, this is a cool word that like, you know, like, and then I'll say it like knowing that like it's a really obscure word that most like native English speakers don't know, and be like, this is what that word means, by the way, just because it's a cool word. Because like there's a weird line where like telling people what words mean like almost feels a little bit condescending. So like, and I absolutely didn't want to do that with you. Like I wanted you to feel like you were in a space that like the language was like, I wasn't talking down to you by like asking if you knew what certain words meant, or like, you know.
Don't worry about that though.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. So when I was DMing, I definitely put a lot of cognitive energy. I thought a lot about how cognitive. That's another good word. I
know that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nice. I put a lot of thought into what words I used to make sure that that the scenario or the situations that I was presenting were getting across, because there's nothing more frustrating from a player's perspective than to feeling like they're lost. Like that's not true. Like they have no impact, I guess, is the first. So that's nothing more frustrating. Like having lack of agency is probably the first thing, and then the second thing is just being lost, being confused. And that is the second most frustrating thing, and that's the thing that you get like a lot of newer players. Like I have no idea what's going on right now, which kind of feeds into the lack of agency, because when you're lost, like those two things kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, so when I was speaking, when I was trying to paint the scene or describe like the sensory part of what was going on, or basically when I was painting word pictures, I tried my best to use words that I thought that you knew, that you wouldn't need to ask clarification for you, as well as for, you know, like the fluidity of the game. So I definitely thought a lot about that. And again, like you speak English very well. Like I know I've said it a lot, but your English is very, very, very good. And I didn't need to do that a whole lot, but it definitely was something that I was aware of. And of course, like I think that it was an absolute pleasure to do that, because it was a new thing for me to it was a new challenge. It was a new thing, like, okay, like, how am I going to describe this in a way that is inclusive to everyone at the table, in a way that everyone can interact with. And I don't want to even interpret like I was dumbing things down or anything, like I was changing things to it was just it was just to get everyone on the same page, to keep the game moving forward. So that was the biggest thing. And then the second thing was something that I do with everyone that I haven't played with before, that I haven't GM'd before, and that is that I didn't know exactly how you played, or how you interacted with things, or how you liked to RP, like all of these things. But I do that with literally everyone. So there already is like this foreign element when you are playing with people that you don't know, and having them speak a different language or being from another culture plays into that wonderfully. And D&D is actually a wonderful game to play when you're trying to get used to interacting with people that you're not sure how they're going to be, and like how to be respectful toward those people. So I just treat it, so everything else, like, basically I just treated it like a normal player, and we had a session 0, and where we talked about all of that beforehand, and then during the game I just kind of felt it out, and I would say, to make all of that short, I tend to ramble a lot. Apologies.
No, it's okay. I love when you rumble.
In short, I thought about the words that I used way more, and that was the biggest shift.
Okay. That's interesting, because that's also that worries me. Like, as a player, I don't want like the DM to step back, or like to not to control themselves, but like you or Elf, Umbra, that have been the enemy. Like, I don't want like the language to be a barrier. Sometimes I'm gonna be lost. Gonna be honest, but I don't want to show that. Well, most of the times I haven't been like on camera, so you don't know if I'm lost or not.
Exactly.
If I won't say it, and I will try to, like, understand on the go.
And let me just say that I absolutely understand where you're coming from with that. But please, I promise, everyone at the table wants you to know what is happening, and they would. I mean, at least in my game, I can't speak for anyone else, but at my games, and if you're at my table, you best damn be sure that I'm going to try to make sure that everyone is having a good time, and everyone is on the same page, and that no one person is singled out and and being lost. Like, and I get that that you don't want to be the source of needing to put like additional energy into things, or like additional time. Like, I get that. Like, I'm exactly the same way. But at least with me and at my tables, know that is absolutely not a problem, and something that I want. It's something that I want and am honored to put more energy into, and it's inclusion. That's what it comes down to, and having everyone be included at the table is so important. And if someone is lost, either because they don't understand a ruling or how the game works, or maybe they missed something back and like weren't paying attention, or in your case, which is like way more understandable, the language that everything is happening in is your second language, don't be afraid to ask for clarification, and I am more than happy to, and I honestly think, and this is maybe debatable, but I honestly think that everyone should be willing and happy to accommodate the linguistic challenges that come with playing with someone that English is the second language, and that's just part of what makes the game cool. And I would say that it's not always a bad thing. Like, I loved playing with you, and I love, and like we've talked like for a lot off stream, and I love having these conversations with you and trying to figure out ways to communicate ideas, and I just think that's a really special part of having friends from different places. It's something that isn't it isn't something to be feared. It isn't something that I think should be felt bad about. I think it's something that should be embraced, welcomed, and I think that it's really, really beautiful and really cool to have that. So, if anything, I think it adds and it doesn't take away anything. I think having someone that needs that has English as a second language, I think it adds so much. And don't feel like you're inconveniencing, because it's completely the opposite. It's just by being there, you're making the game better. You're making the game cooler. So that's my lecture on top of my hill. Joey, we enjoy playing with you. Okay. What a name.
Thank you.
Thank you for the follow, Spoodle Badoodle Manoodle. Spoodle Badoodle Manoodle. Thank you for the follow.
You are the best. Spoodle, what's the name? Spoodle, how?
Spoodle Badoodle Manoodle. Spoodle
Welcome to RoleCallrp, mate. Enjoy it.
I would not
Please
doubt
enjoy.
that they made that name just so that when people thank them for follows or subs or bits, they get to watch their struggle. Sup, I henceforth shall call you Spoodle. So, sup, Spoodle, or maybe Noodle. I don't know. I'll call you Spoodle. Sup, Spoodle. Thanks for the follow.
No, you were saying something. You were ended with like everyone should be included and all those stuff, and was saying thank you for that.
Yeah.
And to end, because my first question was from the past, my second question was from the present, so I will ask something about the future. And this is not like much related what we were talking about really, but it's like two questions really.
Sure.
First, what is your dream as a DM or as a player in general? What do you go forward in D&D? What will be your best dream? And my second question. Well, answer that. I will.
Okay. Sure.
I will ask other question.
I want to have a game. I want to have a word. A word. Sorry. I want to have a world.
A world.
Yeah. I want to have a. Yeah. I don't even speak English.
I get you. Don't worry. I don't also speak Spanish. It's all right.
I want to create a world that facilitates hundreds of people. I want to create a space where anyone can where everyone can play with each other, and that we can have a plethora of perspectives, cultures, backgrounds of people and different schedules, DMs. Like, I want to create a space. I want to create a community where everyone can share in a uniform story, in a uniform world. I want to create something that brings people together. There is, in the United States, especially right now, there's just a whole lot of people that are just at each other's throats constantly. There's a lot of us and them mentality. And that is probably like the thing socially that gets to me most. And there's a lot of hopelessness that comes with that feeling, like everyone just wants to fight each other. And D&D and video games, also just interactive media, is a way to express empathy and also bring people together into something that we all love and something that we all enjoy. And it's my dream that we can bring in a lot of people and to have something to gather around, something that brings people together and that everyone can enjoy. And the byproduct of that, of course, this is my more selfish dream, is that I always want to have D&D content ready. I always want to be able to play D&D. If someone's like, hey, want to play D&D right now? I was like, sure, let's play. And then I just be able to sit down and just have something there, because it's a lot of energy.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and work to put the stuff in. And of course, a lot of people, like spontaneously become available, or like sometimes players can't make it, or sometimes group change. Like I want to create a space where it's like, you can play D&D right now? Great. Let's do it. Let's play. Rather than yeah, and then having all of that be part of a uniform experience. And that's what Aranor is being built around. That's my philosophy, and that's like every like game mechanic that I implement is trying to expand outward and make the game able to facilitate a very large number of players. I don't know how big I can take it, but I want to take it as big as I can possibly go. And that's my dream.
Spuru, if you don't know, Eleanor is whole new world that Kai and Nova, I think, have built. I don't know if it's
yeah.
No. I don't know
me, Nova, and Gastro, aka Kai, Nola, and Chad, are all working together to build a world. And it is interesting.
I was playing that to Spoodle.
Yeah.
If you want to play Spoodle.
Spoodle. If you want to play, join our Discord. We run community games. At this point, it's whenever I can run them. But of course, the goal is to go full time with this someday. But that day is not now, so I run the games.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. We get a generous investor that's willing to pay like 3 full-time wages just tomorrow. Just comes into stream. That's the goal.
Hold on.
The Discord link is down below, Spoodle. If you want to join our Discord. If you scroll down, our Discord thing should be there. Go ahead and join. And if you're interested in the community games, just go ahead and tell me, and you will be added to the group, and we make announcements.
I have played, so I encourage you, mate.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So you said you had another thing.
Yeah. This is not D&D related, no. But what are your dreams? Or your, like, ideal, like, stuff for voice acting? You for what you've done, what's your like, and if combined D&D, perfect, but if not, what's your ultimate like voice acting goal?
Okay, my ultimate
or life in general.
My ultimate life goals. I would love to be a full-time storyteller. I would love to have a system in place that allows me to tell stories. Voice acting, of course, is a major avenue of that, and I am very passionate about that, and I don't think I'll ever stop voice acting, even if like miraculously, like if say for like roll call became my full-time job tomorrow, I probably would still voice act just because I love it so much. But I love working with very passionate people. I love working with people that really love what they do and really want to create and do what they do. There are a lot of people out there that, and this isn't a jab, or this isn't saying that it's bad, but there are a lot of people out there that don't know what they want, or that think they want something, and then when they do it, they realize that it's not for them. and
I can tell you for experience.
And that's fine. That's like all part of life's journey. What really gets it's really rare to find, but like I love finding people that are really, really passionate about what they do, and clearly this is what they want to do, and working alongside them. And with voiceover, I still do some free work on occasion, and I still some like a lot of low tier projects because I just really enjoy working with these people so much. And every once in a while, I'll get this like a script or an audition from someone that I have no idea who they are, and then I'll read the script and like, this script is absolutely incredible, and I really want to work with this person because like I just authentically love this story that they're trying to tell and the characters that they're trying to present. So, a lot of those people are behind paywalls. A lot of those people are behind agencies. And that is my goal. My goal isn't like, of course I need to make money, but my main goal for like wanting to like move to LA and get an agent and all those things isn't because I have any dreams of being like, like wanting to work on anything in particular. Like, of course, it would be nice if I got to work on these projects that I'm really passionate about and that I know and that I'm familiar with. But my big goal is to just surround myself with very talented and dedicated people that want to tell stories. And if I end up at a place like that, I know that I will be satisfied. And I try my best to be that person for the people that I do work with. And I try my best to find people that are like that and work with them as much as possible. Of course, you know, everyone needs money to live, so that is a truth that every artist needs to figure out at some point. So that's a big part of it, of course. Like, you know, like getting paid for what you do is a must. If you want to do it, if you want to do something nonstop and you want to like only do one thing, you need to eventually get paid for it because you need to live. But
you need to live.
Yeah, but if someone gave me like a check for $1 billion and was like, hey man, just do the stuff that you want to do and make what you want to make and work with the people that you want to work with, I'd be good. Like I just want to make things. I just want to create. I want the time to create those things. So anything that I can do so to make it so that I have more time to create and work on the things that I love, that's going to be what I'm going to do. So yeah, my goal, again, long thing short, I want to create a space and I want to create an environment for me where I just can put as much of what little time I have on this earth into creating the things that I love and working with the people that I respect and I'm eager to work with.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that answer. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, it comes to mind what you want to do. I won't speak any names or anything like that, but of course, it comes to mind that guy that tried to make the same thing. So I hope you can feel that voice.
You can bring up names. I know that we've kind of been tiptoeing about it, but Arcadum was a huge part of both of our inspiration, and yeah, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it, and for those of you that
I didn't want to bring him to the stream, but it came to my mind.
Yeah, no, it's on it. You're fine. Like it's. I don't think you need to be like ashamed of it or anything. It's just a fact. You know, for those of you that don't know, just Arcadum was a very prolific member of this community, of the D&D community and the D&D streaming community, and just it came out that he was doing some very shady shit that I don't bother to get into. You can go and do your research, but he was and I think, you know, throughout all of that, he is an amazing DM and an amazing storyteller. Just did abuse that power, abuse that trust, and it was unfortunate. And both me and Joey really looked up to him, and we had a good long night just venting our feelings and talking about how hurt we both were when this event happened. Because like when all that happened, like I told you this, like I thought of you, Joey. I was like, Joey might be the only person that I can talk to about this that like really gets where I'm coming from here. I talked with Nova and Chad about it before, and all that, but like you were definitely person numero uno that I was like,
I saw the stream though. I saw the stream where you talk about it.
Yeah.
I saw that part.
Yeah.
I mean the VOD, not the stream.
Yeah.
But to make you feel a little bit good, I think you just I honestly think you strive for better. I hope I seriously doubt it, but you know, I hope you never get to that point.
Yeah, me too, man.
For anyone.
For
anyone, for you, you know.
Like,
I'm telling you, I like this as a friend, you know. Someone like
I get it,
cares
man.
about
I
you.
get it.
But as far as some stories have come out, it basically he wasn't that big of DM. Some of the players come out and as a player like get involved in the whole thing. Like as a player, they could say like, no, Arcadum wasn't like big of the DM, wasn't that entertaining, you know. So I tell you, Kai, that I think you'll go for a better route. and I hope nothing for the best.
Yeah.
I ended for like you did for the stream. I did like three, 4 questions for that, like past, present, future to end the note. Hi, you say. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Now, let's open it up to chat a little bit. For those of you that have either jumped, either jumped in at the tail end or have been here since the beginning. Does anyone have any questions for Joey? Preferably.
I'm an open book.
Yeah. I am here a lot, so you can ask me questions whenever we do fireside chats or whenever we end stream. But for the most part, if you ask any. Ask questions of Joey is what I'm trying to say. Like he's here right now, so I would prefer to keep the questions for him. But if you have anything for me, of course, like I'll give my 2 cents.
Or for both.
Oh yeah,
maybe both.
Or for both. Exactly. Favorite sandwich, Joey. Go. What's your favorite sandwich?
Favorite sandwich. Interesting. Here's called Italiano. I don't know Italian. I don't know if the Italian sandwich. I don't know if you know it. Yeah.
What's on?
Do you know what?
There's a few things
mayonnaise.
It could
be. Huh? It's not from Italy. It's the Italian flag.
Yeah.
So basically, mayonnaise, tomato, and avocado, and of course the burger and sandwich. That's my favorite sandwich.
I gotcha.
What's yours?
Yeah, for me, I am the first thing that came to mind was tri-tip. I love tri-tip sandwiches, but I also am a sucker for a good pastrami sandwich. Like I really like. If I'm going for like deli meats, like pastrami sandwich all the way. You can't beat it. Always toasted. Always toasted if possible. And if not, I'm a sucker for tri-tip. If you could range your percentage of RP combat exploration when you run a game, what is your general percentage as a GM? We actually talked about that a little bit, but I suppose this is a more personal preference thing, Joey. So like, as a GM, Joey, and then as a player, does it shift or if it's the same? What do you think? For you?
Interesting. As a player, I think the interesting part, starting, I would say combat exploration and. Like in order would be combat exploration and then social encounters, but then as a player right now would be combat, social encounters and exploration. Combat being like 40-50%. Social encounters would be like the rest, like exploration, not many, maybe like half and half. It depends. To make it simple, I would say 50% combat, 25% exploration, and 25% social encounter. And as a GM, I would say for easy for me, or like easiness, I would say social encounters, like 100%. No, I would say like a 40% social encounters, 30% for combat and exploration, I would say.
All right.
And what's for you, Kai?
I think I would go 50% exploration, and then but yeah, we'll say 40. We'll say 40% exploration. 35% combat, and then like 25% social, something like that. I think that exploration is something that as a player, I should say, that's my player perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, because I really enjoy getting a chance to think outside of the box and like go off of my character sheet. A lot of people really struggle with that, but that is where I live. That is like actually thinking of like of solutions that that makes sense, like in the world that maybe I don't have an ability for. That I'm like, can I do this? Can I piss on a door to unlock the ice? Great example. I love things like that.
Outside of the box.
Yeah, exactly. And exploration is the place to do that. I've introduced martial actions into my combat to kind of bring that a little more to the forefront of my combat encounters, and I really love that. Exploration generally is the time where you get to think most outside of the box. So I think that. And then combat, I'm just a sucker for for combat games, and I've always has been. I always have been, and yeah, there's nothing more to say about that. I just like fighting things, and then social encounters. I also enjoy quite a bit, and I can live there for a very good amount. But it's also the as a voice actor and as someone that really like just studies like, you know, the just performance and things like that. I also find that it's the place where things can go the most south and like the most wrong with in terms of like interplayer dynamics. So that risk factor. I suppose I should elaborate. RPing, I think, is the thing that people are most self-conscious about, and also like the people that like people have like the thing that players have like the most range. I don't want to say skill-wise, but relative to like like comfortability-wise, like where there are a lot of people that don't feel comfortable RPing, or that like to RP in a very specific way that isn't necessarily reflective of a classic Hollywood like performance. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I find that I can definitely come on a little strong. Just because I like that's just how I like to do things, and there is nothing worse than just making me feel like I've made other people uncomfortable. So because of that, it's probably like it takes the tail end, but I still love doing it, of course, and it's a big part of the part of the experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And some of the best experiences are in the social aspects of it, but generally speaking, it's safe. I feel safer when I'm in combat or when we're doing exploration. And as a GM, I'll say combat. I guess the way that I perceive myself, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone that's been in my games before, maybe this the percentages will come off differently in game. Yeah, feel free. I think my games tend to go roughly 50-60% combat, and then like 30-40% social, and then like 10% exploration, which is actually really funny. Because because like the thing that I love doing the most is also the thing that I run the least, I think.
Well, yeah, that happened to me. Like I like combat, but then I put combat like 30-30, you know?
Yeah, exactly. What's our favorite day? Yeah, what's our favorite day of the week? Saturdays.
What are my favorite day of the week? Oh, it depends on on my work schedule and my university schedule. If I class it that day, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think the best day tend to be Friday. Funny enough, Wednesdays. I enjoy Wednesdays. I don't know why.
Huh.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
Something I can explain it.
For Nova, it is 50% social, 30% exploration, 20% combat. That's about what I expected. Which is
50% social?
Yeah, 50% social.
50% social.
Yeah.
Then combat, how much?
It's in chat. Combat is 20%, and then 30%.
Oh, I can't read it. Sorry.
Oh no worries. I didn't know if you had it open. Sorry, that was. Yeah, it's surprising to hear the exploration and combat percentages for both of you are so high. Yeah, no, it's that's where the gamer mind can really engage, and social and the social side of things is where I can indulge my inner actor, which again can get a little too indulgent sometimes, I must say, but
for my side, I would say I enjoy, like, you know, God of War, Doom, so of course I like combat. From my whole aspect, you know, Barbarian would be perfect, but then I realized I really like monks, because I always like boxing, martial arts, MMA, all the stuff. Like the rule I created, remember that? Like I tried to create, like the choking rule. The choking mechanics.
Yeah.
So, I for me it's like, because of that background, I always like, of course the monks, because of the they can do many like not only combat, but they can do many like acrobatic things.
Yeah.
And like ninja stuff, which is really fun, you could say. So I really like that.
Yeah.
I always like the typical brute.
Do you play any Age of Empire? I not Age of Empire.
Age of Empire.
Yeah. You were talking about the Star Wars stuff, right? Wasn't that you? Maybe I was talking about someone else. Okay. No, Edge of Empire. But Edge of Empire is a Star Wars tabletop RPG.
Is Edge or Age?
Edge, as in like a knife's edge. Edge of Empire, not Age of Empire.
Okay.
Yeah. I said I got it confused too. Yeah. Edge of Empire is a Star Wars tabletop RPG. At least I think it is. Let me look it up. Edge of Empire.
No, I haven't tried it, but
yeah, Edge of Empire. Yeah, the Star Wars role-playing game. I was right. Woo! Sorry.
I think one of my friends played that tabletop, and I'm really open to play. Like, I really like D&D, and I think we'll stay for it for a long time, but I would really want to try Pathfinder. I think I've told 12, like, hey, one day maybe you could show me Pathfinder stuff.
Yeah, Elf, also, run some Pathfinder.
No, it's okay, but I really like to explore more things, and Star Wars, because I like Star Wars to the movies, and maybe some behind lore I'm not like that interesting. Not like interesting, like, how do you say, inverted, like invested?
Yeah, invested.
I'm not like that invested, but I really like Star Wars, and I have my best friend that I'm trying to D&D. He loves Star Wars. He knows all the lore and the stuff, and I think it would be interesting maybe to play both and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm open to play many RPGs.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. I like to roleplay.
Yeah, I have not played Edge of Empire. I've heard stories of people that have played it. The primary secondary system that I play, which is very few and far between, but at this point it is the secondary system that I play, is Call of Cthulhu. Have you played any Call of Cthulhu yet, Joey? I know you got the dice, but
I got the dice, yeah.
but you haven't played the game yet.
The Pathfinder and the Cthulhu dice are my GM dice. Those are the dice that only can be used by me. The other I can borrow. I can let them use it, but those dice are mine and nobody else uses.
All right, perfect. Maybe you already answered this, but like, what is a system other than D&D like you really want to get into? Like, you mentioned a couple, but like, if you had like pick like one that's like, okay, like I really want to start getting into this.
Okay, so I know there's many systems, like even systems that doesn't require GMs at all. You know, like a GM or GM. A GM would be like a grandmaster, so like a guildmaster. Wouldn't like many systems don't require that, but for me, there's two. Funny enough, and from what I heard, this is Elf's fault because she told me a lot of that would be Pathfinder, which is the mission. Yeah. But also that would be really interesting because I like the game, the video game. Mm-hmm. I know the books, and I'm really hooked. Would be The Witcher.
Ooh,
The Witcher RPG game would be really interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. Call of Cthulhu is one of them. I have the dice, so and I've seen more on that, and I think it meets my like general like that horror style. I think that would be like very nice, but primarily because of freedom, Pathfinder, and interesting The Witcher.
Yeah, I am all for that. That sounds like a ton of fun. Yeah, for me. I love Call of Cthulhu, and I really wish I got a chance to run it or play it more. It is probably my favorite horror tabletop RPG that I've read, and hence why that was the one I chose to play it. I really want to play a game of Alien too. It's I don't remember.
Oh yeah, there's an RPG.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. I don't think it's called Aliens, but like it's.
I think it's Aliens.
Is it Alien? Like I
from the movies?
Yeah. Like Ridley Scott's Alien. Yeah, exactly. Like I love like this a sci-fi adventure where like a monster is hunting you down. I am all about that. So that would be that
I
would
think
be that.
Doom would be cool also.
Yeah, Doom would also
Because
be cool.
there's a Doom RPG system, I think.
Yeah. And I would love to play The Witcher. That sounds like a ton of cool. I know that my brother has a Bloodborne tabletop RPG that he hasn't run yet. That that would be really, really cool. And
that would be really cool.
I would be absolutely open to try out Edge of Empire just because I've heard so much about it. There's a big devoted space for Edge of Empire. So I'd be down to try it. Maybe it's Nemesis. Let me check.
I think it's a Roll20 that system also.
Nemesis tabletop is that it?
Well, the Alien or the Edge of Empires?
Oh yeah. Maybe it's this. I was just looking at it. It might be Nemesis. Not sure. I read it a while ago and it seemed like fun. Probably the game that I will run next is One Ring. Is the One Ring. It's a second edition. It's coming out fairly soon, and I've got a couple people that are really keen.
Wait, second edition?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah. The second edition's coming out really soon.
Wow.
I've read the guide. I've read the system, and it seems interesting. And I'm probably gonna run that sometime soon. You gotta try to host an Edge of Empire session for you. Thanks, Spoodle. Maybe I'll take you up on that. That seems like it'd be a ton of fun. Appreciate that.
I know a couple of people that would like that.
Yeah.
That you also know.
Yeah. Does his username rhyme with brawn?
Maybe not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna run that. And outside of like tabletop RPGs, I've played a couple that I really, really enjoy. One of them is called Murder on a House on the Hill. I love that game.
Oh.
It's also a tabletop RPG game. I've watched a couple of rounds of it played, and I've played once, and I fell in love. Like I as soon as that game happened, it's one of those things where like you just people all of a sudden couldn't make it, and we never could get a game going again. But like after I finished that one game, I was like, yes, let's play this again. And then we never did, and it was sad. Maybe I'll run a.
Sounds fun though.
Yeah. It's great. The premise basically is like you're all a bunch of people in this haunted house, and you're slowly exploring it, and then eventually the monster or like the traitor is revealed to be one of you, and like not even like the person, not even the player like that is the monster knows that they're the monster until like a certain point in the game is reached, and then like the haunted house begins to shift, and you get certain objectives, and then like every monster's objective is slightly different, and like it was so much fun. I enjoyed the heck out of that game.
Okay, so it's similar to the beginning of the how do you say the favorite D&D module, the vampire, how do you say it?
Curse of Strahd?
Curse of Strahd, yeah, like the House of Curse of Strahd.
Oh yeah. Like that, except for imagine if like by the very end like someone in your party ended up being the last boss.
Yeah. The only problem with that house is that you die before you reach the
Good times. I have fond memories of Death House. I've run through Death House twice, and both times I had a great time. I love Death House. So Murder on the House on the Hill, highly recommend. I have played that. Also doesn't require a DM, so that's always fun that everyone gets to play. And then the other one is Gloomhaven, which if you play it on tabletop,
talk about that.
Yeah. If you play it on Tabletop Simulator, it doesn't require a GM. But if you play it in person, it requires someone to read ahead and know what's in the rooms because they need to set it up and have all the pieces ready and all that. But if you play it online, they prep all the rooms for you, so no one needs to know anything. You just keep progressing through the rooms, and everyone gets to share in the surprise. So I really like playing Gloomhaven online, and I recommend it. That's also like a really fun game. And that game is like 95% combat. You need to. If you're into the other two pillars of D&D, you probably Gloomhaven probably isn't for you. But if you're into combat, like that's
I think we
that's
have
the
the
game.
same likes, guys.
Yeah. That's the game. That is the experience. I would love to have a group. Nice. I would love to have a group of people to play Gloomhaven or Murder on the House on the Hill with. Both of them require. I use Tabletop Simulator for anything but D&D, just because Roll20 is so easy. So it requires a little bit more coordination, but yeah, I love it. Spoodle. I assume just based on when I saw that message app, Murder on the House on the Hill is very interesting. I highly recommend it if you get a group of people together that can play it. I think it's for like 3 to 8 players. But in my experience, it's the more players, the better. That's just my experience. It's one of those things where like not like D&D where like the more players you add, like the how the game needs to be played is different and people don't get enough spotlight time. Like no, the more players you have, the better. I really like that. Let me see the Murder House on the Hill. How many players is it for?
How is it called? Murder on what?
It's a Betrayal of House on the Hill. My bad. Betrayal of House on the Hill, and it's 3 to 6 players. My bad.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth it. It has the Kai stamp of recommendation. If you have a group of people that can play it, give it a try. If you're into horror investigation, and pop culture references, it's great. The one game that we played, the mansion turned into Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it was wonderful. And that's another thing. It's like there are so many different monsters and scenarios and betrayals in the thing that it's always fresh. And like you can play that game for a long time and like not get a repeat and not get the same thing. And also the house is procedurally generated. Mm-hmm. So like the way that the layout is like works is changes each game, so it keeps things fresh. Yeah, like it's a great game. I really like it.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Sorry,
I want to try it.
10 minutes later. Just rambling about that.
We should be 10 minutes later.
Any other questions for Joey while we got him? What is the thing that you enjoy most from GMing? And maybe like a story to go along with maybe a favorite moment from a GM perspective, and then maybe from a player's.
Okay, so it's different. My favorite moment from what I enjoy most. You know. Okay, so the favorite moment it's what I enjoy a lot, but it's not what I strive for. You know.
Yeah.
But basically, what was I telling you was the one shot that became more longer, which is the tavern. I think that became so cool because the best thing about that is I created a whole tavern that I could use again because the players didn't use it all of the tavern, you know. Mm-hmm. So I could put it them again in the same tavern or like same type of tavern, different name.
Yeah. No, this isn't the Corollian Inn. It's the Schmorolian Inn. It's completely different.
It's completely different. Also, another campaign. So you guys don't know.
Yeah. But basically, you know, GM.
I think that tavern could be used in many campaigns, and I think I could present to the same players, and the same player would be happy because there's so much stuff to do in that tavern. I think it could be a major pull point further in other campaigns that I'm thinking out in my mind. What I try more about DMing, I think it's the simple thing is for players to enjoy, but the main thing, I think, something like you or like homebrewing flesh out of a whole new world, you know. Right now, for example, my best friend, what I'm DMing for him it's based around Berserk, the manga, and it's something that came out because I started the manga, and then because the creator died.
Yeah.
Like the manga artist died.
Mm-hmm.
And I give it a little time because I wanted to start. Oh, everyone was start.
Yeah.
I wanted to give it a try, and I started with the anime, and then like I went with the manga, and then I searched a lot of things about like like I discovered a whole new world, so I could pull out a lot of Berserk into D&D. So basically, because there's already a world created around it, I basically put it out to my friend, like Berserk, here it is, cats, now your name, whatever you want, that's your character, and that's the campaign. I created the cinematic homebrew, the cinematic mode.
Yeah.
Because it's only one player, but basically, if my player gets bored, he can also continue with his travel, and he started. With that, I learned a lot of flexibility, and with that, I learned a lot of monster creating, which is I think I love most. I think I created not only monsters, monsters and NPC. Monsters and NPC.
That's awesome.
Really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Really fun, and monsters that challenge the players. Like you can create with new ways to challenge the players. Also NPCs, NPCs that are friends, and there are maybe your enemies or your allies. That would be interesting. NPCs created based on a class.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have a base class, but have more like stuff because it's an NPC.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting, and I don't know. It's a whole new world, So the DMG would have been useful as far for that.
Yeah, totally.
For balancing stuff.
What about a favorite player moment?
What are your favorite? My favorite?
Yeah, no, yours. Yeah.
Or your? Yours. No, I already told you. My favorite player. No, I haven't told you my favorite player. I have a couple. Okay, so I have many.
Yeah, sure.
Now remembering. Okay, as a new player, Lost Mine Fandelver, the Goblins. It's so
the introduction, the introduction to the Lost Mine, where you go to the cave. Yeah.
Yeah. Not even that. The first, like when you're with the
spoilers for Lost Mines of Fandelver. Okay. Go ahead.
When you are with the mission.
No. You fine. I said spoilers. Feel free to go into specifics now.
No, basically, you have to discord mission basically, and then some goblins appear, and maybe it's the first combat. It's the first experience in D&D. For me.
Yeah.
And that moment when you rage and kill the goblins until like you kill three quarters of the goblin.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you feel and you role play, and you can throw a goblin, you can take parts for the goblin, all that stuff. I think it's very like something you remember. But on the one shot, I really enjoyed the combat because I really enjoyed that Shadow Monk. Oh my god, that teleportation thing.
Just being able to zip around the map.
I don't know why you didn't hate me. It's so broken in my opinion.
Hey, you did your thing, and no, you all did remarkably well. That session went really, really, really well.
But
I wasn't asking. I didn't presume that your favorite moment would be in the one game that we've played together. So but thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah,
I enjoy it. Yeah, and also what it's the game in general, I would say, but also the moment what I'm like more proud of, like here, like it's not combat, it's where I interact with Elf's character and with Bunny characters. Where it's like the ring.
Yeah, with the ring.
When culture the people and we get the ring, and it was like, and I was my character was thinking, oh, maybe the ring is cursed. It was and I gave the ring to like take the ring and give it 12, and then like that interaction with everyone. I think it's because it was really funny. Also interacting with Nova's character, big woman.
Whatever her name, Nova character, the big woman.
No. I don't remember. I can't even remember my character's name. Oh yeah, I think it's Punk. Yeah. I can only remember my character. But
I don't remember anyone's names either. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, it was a one shot and was a long time ago, almost a year ago.
You had Joey, Elf, Bunny, and Nova.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I really like that game all in all. But yeah, I think I have to play a little more, like try more social interaction, but because when we play that like Greek type of
we
D&D,
played that for a very short amount of time. Yeah.
And I played like half of the sessions of that
because
it was doing something. But yeah, I think the little part of it where I did social interaction, I enjoyed, and I really like having like a backstory with a character. You know, that dynamic I think is really fun. So yeah, I think I really want to. My last character I created, that elf also drew it to me. Was a halfling. I told you about this. The halfling that wants to write the D&D, the player's handbook.
Oh yeah. Talk about meta.
Yeah. But I think that's really simple. It's not like a sad zombie story of like, oh my, a monk, of course. But yeah, I think it's a really fun character all in all, and very pushed to intelligence type. Of course, I really want to min-max, but the other side of me is like, okay, try more intelligence type of character and see what. Try to, not much charisma, coming for a halfling, but try not much charisma and go for more like investigation or like want to discover stuff,
Yeah.
Like I created around me,
Yeah, totally.
And I think that would be interesting to take on like as a player. But what is your favorite GM and player moment?
My favorite GMing moment. Oof. It's
been a lot.
Yeah, no, there has been a lot. This is really It's tough. It's really, really tough. There have been some.
Yeah.
There have been some. I got to do some honorable mentions if I'm going to pick a favorite, because there are some honorable. Like I have played with a lot of people, a lot of groups. Honorable mention goes to an off-stream game, where I set up a monster hunt for my players to take part in. And it was very much so like The Witcher. It was very much so inspired like Witcher style, like monster, and then you need to learn about it.
Hunter.
And then you need to hunt it down. And my party did everything, and like even could played in some games, and then went on this monster hunt, which was a chimera, and a modified chimera. And they went into the woods, tracked down the creature after doing like the Witcher thing of like figuring out its weaknesses and figuring out where it was, and then they just hatched this plan. And one of my players, who was a divination wizard, divination wizards have this mechanic where they can roll on a dice, and essentially they can make that roll replace like any, like I think it's an ability check or attack roll or saving throw or something like that.
I think it's no, attack roll, I don't think so, because with spells, I think it would be very broken. I think with ability and
I think, I mean, well, it had to have been with an attack roll because that's a core part of the story. Maybe I messed up. Divination.
Okay, but
wizard,
a spell
5e.
doesn't count as an attack roll.
You can replace it for anyone. Portent dice. At second level, you glimpse the future. When you finish a long rest, roll 2 d20s and record the numbers rolled. You can replace any attack roll, saving throw, or ability check with the rerolls. And when you you can choose to do so before a roll, and you can replace this on a. You can replace rolls in this way only once per turn, and you need to finish a long rest. So yeah, it's on attack rolls. So that's.
So it's like if it nerf basically.
Yeah. So basically, he rolled a nat 20 that morning on his portent dice, and we had a Hexblade Warlock in that party. So they were like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We are going to stack damages, and we are going to crit this thing into oblivion. So, invisibility cast on the Hexblade Warlock, sneaking up on this Chimera. They attack. Hex, Eldritch Smite, normal attack, and laid down the hurt on this thing, and then maybe it was Branding Smite or something else. Maybe it was something. Point is, stacks on stacks on stacks on stacks, a guaranteed crit, and they blew this thing up in a single hit. But because
Divination Wizards, yeah.
So yeah, but because a mixture of luck, of just like and like just how things were rolled that day, and their ingenuity and the way they have interaction, they just one-shot this creature, and it was such a cool moment that everyone. So that's an honorable mention. Honorable mention. Honorable mention number 2 goes to Fortunes and Fables when there was this big moment where essentially a character died. A player character was dead.
Yeah.
And they did this amazingly thought out plan where they were attempting to avoid the combat altogether and basically succeeded in that. But near the tail end, one of them got caught and they lost their lives. And there was this moment. No. Sorry, not all. A character lost their lives. And then someone else went back in the middle of a freaking fight where there was this gigantic dragon and they are already low, picked up their character and then zipped back in, basically risking their lives to retrieve their character's body so that they could bring them back. And in the middle of all of that, the character ended up being brought back, and that was just such a memorable and cool moment of teamwork and trying to save all the NPCs that they were trying to save. And it was just such a heroic moment, so dramatic, so cool. I loved it. And then
Dimension Door?
Huh?
Or what?
Huh?
How did you achieve the death character? Dimension Door?
I think, if I recall correctly, he ran in, cast, I think, Reduce on the body, so that the body wouldn't. And then pocketed it, and then
Cool.
and then I think he Dimension Doored or Misty Stepped or some way back into safety. It was this big moment, and yeah,
That's so clear.
yeah. It was cool. And then number 1. It's kind of embarrassing, but it was this moment of it was a really big moment for me, both as a GM and just in my relationship with after from GM to player, and like getting this level of trust because we were doing this really delicate situation, and that would probably be. There's a few moments, but I will say I'll give it just my most memorable moment to when Ismark confessed to Serena in the Curse of Strahd campaign on top of the tower.
Oh, okay.
That moment just had such weight behind it. Because of the just the amount of trust that was required from both me and Nova to just play out a scene like that, as well as just have the that build up from the entire campaign reach this moment. It was extremely memorable, and I remember being absolutely horrified when it was going on, just because like it was this weird thing where like it's so delicate, it's so fragile, you know, like when you're presenting when you're representing things like this with, especially on a one-on-one. So it worked.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of both me and Nova when we made that moment.
Was the NPC, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that moment, I think is it was the moment where I remember being like the most scared, like out of game, like just me as a GM, just being like, okay, like this is where it's going. Here we go, and then it worked out, and it was a wonderful moment. And yeah, so yeah,
I even feel nervousness. About it.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a great session. Yeah. So as a GM, you can appreciate this. Like, yeah, like when you're representing romance, in a space, especially on stream, it was very. I felt a lot of pressure. So the fact that it went so well.
I feel the pressure.
Yeah. It made me feel good. So yeah, there are plenty of moments that I can mention, but that one I think was the first one that came to mind. So usually the thing that comes first is generally like probably the most honest answer. And then as a player, I'll say the first thing that comes to mind. Not to say that I haven't had wonderful moments before, but the first thing that came to mind was actually probably like one of my GMs at the time's worst nightmares, was when he accidentally killed me. Basically, we climbed this tower, and this monster came up, and I was the first one in line of sight. And this monster, I think we were like level 5, and this monster I think got 7 attacks on me with advantage. And I was a bard rogue multi-class, and this thing, I just got melted. I had the lucky feat, and I nullified 3 critical hits, and I still got melted. The last attack made me fail 2 death saving throws, and then I failed my last one. And my DM did not plan on killing me, as DMs basically should never. Well, this was a newer DM, and he was borderline. And this is like the thing that's honestly like really sad about it. I'm not saying it was that I didn't enjoy the fact that he was kind of freaking out, but my DM was borderline panicking. Like he was he didn't want to kill me, and I could see the gears in his head turning, and I tried to make it very clear to him that, you know, like that I was okay with dying. I even like made a character in the combat, like made things like, I was like, we can keep playing, like it's fine, like this is part of the game, like I'm all about this, like let's have this moment. But I
wish I could have you right now.
yeah. He wasn't having any of it. He felt so bad, and then one of the players at the table took out the deck of many things that they had got just a little bit earlier, and they like looked down at my dead body, and first thing they did was they passed off a card to someone else, and they drew, and it was ruin, and they lost all their magic items and gold. And then they passed on the card again, and they drew again, and they got Comet. They got 2 wishes. And he had a physical deck that the player was drawn from.
And that's so fun.
And the player drew the Comet and brought me back. And this was a cool moment for me, because this character's entire shtick was built around luck. Like he was a halfling, had the lucky feat, and like he was a bard that like could a lore bard that like was skilled in many things. So like my thing was like he isn't very good at anything, but he's extremely lucky, and that's what everything was supposed to represent. And he died,
like,
and then freaking came back because they drew the right card on the deck of many things. I was like,
cool.
There was no, like, you can't make this shit up. Like this was just so unbelievably perfect. And I
tell the story.
Yeah. So that was probably my favorite player moment.
That's so fun. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it helps that we're both actors and most players do something that's very glossed over. Yeah, no, it's because it's tricky, Nova. Like, you know, romantic relationships.
What?
And like,
oh, Nova, what?
We were talking about the romance between Serena and Ismark. Yeah,
Okay,
it's like
yeah.
like romantic matters and like sexual content representation at D&D is really difficult to do. It's tough. So
She was pregnant?
No.
Serena?
No.
Okay.
That was a gag. That was a gag that we did one time. Yeah.
I thought they did it for real. They did it for real.
Oh no. She did end up having sex with Ismark though, so that did end up happening. But no, not pregnant.
No.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
And yeah. So like
Fade
yeah.
to black, although yeah.
Mhm.
Because of your game,
Yeah.
I suppose it was fade to black. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, doing things like that, especially, you know, like with a female player, is just it's very delicate. You have to respect each other and know the boundaries and all that. And it was spooky, but yeah, like
Have confidence in each other.
Yeah, exactly. So it was spooky,
Um,
but yeah, the fact that we both trusted each other and that it turned out into a beautiful moment. And I loved it. So yeah.
I think because both of you know D&D and have been playing with each other and your voice actors also.
Yeah.
All the stuff came together to that moment. I think that's why it came out so well.
Yeah.
It's not something I could do with anyone right now.
Yeah.
I want to. That's also, if I don't want, I think also would be very bad.
Yeah, it is not a necessity. Like if you don't, if anyone is not comfortable with it, then it isn't at their table. But like that was the thing. Like we talked about our boundaries, and that wasn't one of them. So it's not like we planned that moment to happen. So like when we were there, it's like, let's see where this goes, and then that was it.
Okay. So, but nobody didn't know about it, right?
Well, no, like that was the thing. It was natural. Like it just naturally progressed. Like that was the thing about it that made it work. Is like it's not. We didn't plan out. We don't plan anything. Like we were just playing. Like that was just the moment, and that's what felt right in that moment. That's how things naturally progressed. So that's the way it went.
Well, if it didn't came out that way, it could be a fun story though. Like Ismark tried, but it got rejected. You know, like.
Oh yeah.
It could be a great like.
The Rise of Tiamat campaign is filled with things like that. If you're no, that's filled with that kind of comedy.
Oh, that's a question I wanted to ask you. Sorry, I didn't interrupt anything.
No, that's fine. I was just gonna say, I was one thing. Spoodle. To be honest, I never knew that was possible in D&D, or rather, I never heard of it happening. Yeah, Spoodle. It's a thing. And it's a very delicate thing to do. But if you want an example of this, the YouTube episodes aren't up. The YouTube episodes, the Curse of Strahd VODs aren't up on our YouTube channel quite yet. But if you want to go back into our VODs and watch our Curse of Strahd, you can. I don't know the episodes off the top of my head, but I think the titles should be somewhat of a clue. The one of the confession has something to do with a river, and then the other one is in the bone grinder. Sorry, I can't be of more help, but if you want an example, the VODs are up there. Episode 1, slap a man in the face. Nice. Sorry, Joey, you were gonna ask me something.
Oh yeah, I saw a little bit. It was kind of silent and didn't comment in the chat, but Treyer.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah, Treyer.
Treyer.
Yeah.
He's DMing for another type of for another community, you could say.
Yeah. That is our community. That is our community showcase. That is basically like when I want to bring on guest GMs to kind of showcase their style, and like, you know, they're people that we interact with and that I trust to stream, and then it's essentially showcasing a different style of GM and table dynamics, just to, you know, show that there are other styles of play out there that are fun and that are cool.
Yeah, and they are like like a role in sense of like they have their own Twitch channel. I think. They have their own community.
They do. They don't use it too much, but my hope is that more people go over to them and support them on their own individual endeavors. Like I want to show off other communities and like GMs and their tables, and then I want to have other people say like, oh, that's really cool, and then like join their Discord servers and do all that. Like that's what I want.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk to you about that. But they are not playing Rise of Tiamat, or they are Icewind
Dale. That's there.
I remember.
Yeah.
No, I remember. Okay, yeah, Rise of Tiamat is totally different.
Yeah. Our one-on-one with me and Nova is Rise of Tiamat, which is also going really well and has a bunch of homebrew systems going on that are working very well. And I'm really proud of from a design perspective. Rise of Tiamat requires a lot of prep on the DM side of things, and I'm particularly proud. Sorry, I've made this so much about me, and I promised myself I wouldn't. Don't
worry. I think it's interesting. I for what I heard, Rise of Tiamat is not also like it's I think all modules are fun, like as a player to play, you could say. But Rise of Tiamat is not like top the best, like Curse of Strahd, you could say. Everyone praised Curse of Strahd. But Rise of Tiamat is like not on the top tier, you could say, of modules.
Yeah,
from what I've heard.
So here's my thing on Rise of Tiamat. So far, we are almost to the end of episode 1. Spoiler, Nova. Sorry, I should have said. We are almost to the end of episode 1, which is I won't get into specifics because my player is in the audience. But so far, my review of Rise of Tiamat is it is really hard to run because they don't actually give you very many things to they don't give you as much to they just don't give you as much. Like Curse of Strahd, it has basically everything like laid out there and you basically just need to run it and that's fine. Rise of Tiamat is here's the Sword Coast. This is what's happening on the Sword Coast. Here are the main events that you need to get through. Good luck on how to get there, what happens in between there, making the world feel fleshed out, like making everything work. Figure it out, which leaves a lot of room. And I will say, like, the thing that's really cool about that is it's left a lot of room for the player character's personal story to be woven in. And I knew that, and so like going into it, like Nova said in chat, we prepped for like months in advance to create a dynamic, interestingly enough, and create like a backstory interesting enough to potentially explore and have interact with the world for the foreseeable future, because that is a huge part of what makes the world cool. So we are getting a lot more time with the player character than we did with in Curse of Strahd, where Curse of Strahd, it's basically like you had no time to really explore. Well, you had less time, a lot less time to explore the characters themselves because you were like too busy trying to survive and kill Strahd. Whereas Rise of Tiamat, it's the inverse. You're trying to stop the coming of Tiamat, but all throughout, the central point of everything is the character's journey. So at least that's the way that I feel. I am enjoying Rise of Tiamat.
It's a double-edged.
Yeah, it is. I am enjoying Rise of Tiamat so far. I need to finish it before I give a solid review. But so far, I would definitely not recommend it to newer GMs because it requires a lot of interpretation and a lot of figuring things out. But I think that so far, the systems that are made in it are really cool. And if you know what you're doing, if you're an experienced GM, and you like homebrewing, like you like customizing modules a lot, Rise of Tiamat is the perfect module for that because it is you need to customize it. Like it's not functioning if you don't. So if you're the kind of person that really likes to customize your modules, Rise of Tiamat is wonderful for that. So that's my review so far.
Horde of the Dragon Queen is the previous model or the next one?
That was the previous, and that was the one that I heard sucked. So we skipped it.
Yes.
And
then Rise of Tiamat wasn't the best, they say. But Horde of the Dragon Queen, no.
yeah. Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Of the Dragon.
Yeah, Horde of the Dragon Queen, I heard sucked. So we skipped it and went to Rise of Tiamat.
Okay, so I hope if I ended up doing the world, hope no one knows about this. But basically, my world, my main villain it's around things. I don't want to spoil anything, but
Sure.
certain things in Rise of Tiamat or Holy Dragon Queen, I'm not sure which of the both, are around the main villain and have like these things that it's the main goal for the villain, and it's all around. It's not the same, like it's not like the same thing from Rise of Tiamat where you have to stop like the Rise of Tiamat, but it's have involved something similar, and yeah, you have something like that. So because I remember, because I was searching for there's certain things, and I looked it up online and was like, oh, they could be interesting because it fit under my settings that I'm planning to do, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
totally. Closing thoughts. Thank you so much for talking, Joey. I could keep going for a long time. I think it is time. I don't want to keep you. I know that it's late where you are, and I really enjoyed talking with you, and I enjoy playing with you. I love running games with you. Whenever you're ready to come back, man, I want you to know that just everyone is eagerly playing, and that you're always welcome back at the games. And yeah, thank you so much for giving me some time.
No, I really want to thank you, Kai. Same goes to me. I like you. I can talk all night, like all along, but but because I enjoy talking with you, you know. So I enjoy, like, you asked me for this interview. I was very excited.
The interview that kind of slowly devolved into our normal conversations.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, no, I really like enjoy talking with you. D&D live, all that stuff, you know. Yeah, I really want to keep doing this. Not the interview. I don't know.
But maybe we'll talk again. Who knows?
Who knows? But at least talking with you once in a while.
Yeah, totally.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah, dude. Shoot me a DM or ping me in the server, and you know where to find me. I'm more than willing to interact.
I have you as a friend.
Yeah.
I joined you as a friend. So
yeah, you got.
I can DM you. I can annoy you.
Yes, feel free, man. I love chatting with you. Thank you everyone so much for watching. That the chat was popping this stream. There was and thank you everyone for stopping by, saying hi. For those of you that lurked, that chatted. Spoodle, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, you guys are fucking awesome. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we hope to see you all again very soon. So until next time, we don't normally stream on Mondays, I suppose to say. We stream normally every Saturday and Wednesday. Saturdays alternating campaigns, and Wednesdays we stream Fortunes and Fables. So if you want to see us play, go ahead and check out those streams. That Wednesdays and Saturday evenings. But other than that, stay happy, stay healthy, and we hope to see you again very soon. Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you again for being on, Joey.
Nah.
Bye-bye.